The Rock was released in 1996 and became one of the biggest action films of the decade. Michael Bay's tale of a rogue general threatening San Francisco with missiles from Alcatraz Island, the film is a high-octane study of duty, vengeance, and what it means to be a fan of the Beatles. My name's John, and the chemical weapons specialists with me are Westy.
Look how big this is. You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you fucking nuts?
And Matt.
Earlier today you wanted a gun. Now you're getting a gun and a wetsuit.
All the right movies are on Alcatraz to talk Bay's most beloved blockbuster. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and listen to this podcast. Hello and welcome to The Rock and All the Right Movies, a Zeus's butthole of a podcast that tells the story of Hollywood one film at a time. This episode, we are on Alcatraz Island.
We are.
I'm
not going to cut you any frickin' slack.
I don't want you to.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's Bay and Bruckheimer, Cage and Connery. We're telling you the story behind the 90s action juggernaut that is The Rock. How does that grab you?
Ferociously.
By the balls.
By the balls.
As was the intention.
Yes.
Well, before we head out into the bay, we have our own little island of content to talk about, don't we?
We do.
So if you like what we do on this, our flagship podcast, and would like us to keep on keeping on with it, you can help support that by becoming an ATRM patron. Patrons get access to our bonus podcast, Double Feature, which is a show where we cover two films to see which will feed into our flagship shortlist, plus the watch list, our review show. Also, you get access to the ATRM community, meaning you can vote on episodes, get your questions answered on the show, your reviews read out, and chat to other like-minded film fans.
Lovely.
Yep.
As a certain general might say, that offer is non-negotiable, surely.
Yeah.
Great. And you should listen to him.
So to find out more and sign up, you can visit patreon.com/alltherightmovies, or if you're a Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube user, you can subscribe directly on there as well.
Easy peasy.
Back to the here and now, though, it is The Rock. Your choice, Westy.
Was it?
Obviously. So why are we talking about it? Please explain.
I know, I'm really sorry, guys, but I mean, it's so much fun that it just forgets how cynical it is. I think that's the whole point. It's just an absolute onslaught of a film. It's technically crazy, but it's pure rock and roll MTV action. I mean, a second film from Michael Bay. The fact that this and Armageddon, which we'll probably mention, got into the Criterion Collection is baffling.
Yeah.
But the fact that it got in there before Kurosawa's Rashomon is even more baffling. But that's the kind of impact that this film has. I think it's just audacious all over from start to finish. It doesn't breathe. It doesn't give you a second. It grabs you by the collar and absolutely drags you through it. Every explosion you feel, every gunshot, every single inch of pain, every single inch of action. When I first saw this, I was absolutely pinned back by it. It was just one of them action films that I just loved when I'd first seen it. Do I love it as much now? Maybe not.
Yes, you do.
But I do kind of love it, but I can't watch it as often as I used to. I really used to dine out on this quite a lot, and I've watched it more and more just for this episode, and I realise that I just don't have the patience for this type of pace anymore. That doesn't make it a bad thing.
Well, I loved this when I was a 15-year-old. I think every 15-year-old boy did then, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It was kind of just what you wanted at that age, or I did, like explosions and swearing, that yellow Ferrari.
Yeah.
I remember everyone talking about that car at the time. So, yeah, great to revisit it now and see how our opinions have shifted, or maybe haven't, all these years on. Yeah. Also, it is the first time we've talked about Michael Bay, and he's an interesting filmmaker. Divisive, but interesting. So, looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on him. Back with Sean Connery. Don't mean much of an excuse to talk about Connery.
No. I think that's the main reason, if I'm honest. I tried to mask it behind all of that other shit.
Yeah, and then Nicolas Cage. I mean, we'll get to Nicolas Cage, obviously. And the story behind the scenes is a great one as well. Huge, spectacular creative work. Huge, spectacular fallouts as well. There's some craziness in the screenwriting and a bit of tragedy in there as well, even. So, loads to talk about. And if we can't have some laughs talking about The Rock, what will we have some laughs talking about?
Yeah, I think we're in serious trouble then.
Yeah.
And Matt, The Rock for you. Are you thinking you walked into the wrong goddamn room?
Always, permanently. Definitely on this episode. Because the thing is, the last time the three of us were sat here on a classic, we were talking about Alfred Hitchcock. So where else would we go next but Michael Bay? Natural bedfellows. No, the thing is, there's a recurring theme here. Like, if you could ask 15-year-old Matt what he thought about The Rock, he'd tell you it was one of the 10 greatest films ever made.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, obviously, I am no longer 15, and therefore, I have different answers today. My opinion has changed a bit. But all the same, you can't deny this is an absolute boatload of fun. And it's definitely in the conversation for the definitive American action film of the 90s. It was the perfect film for a teenage boy back then. So I've still got that fondness for it. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun to get into.
So The Rock was produced by Hollywood Pictures and Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer Films, distributed by Buena Vista Distribution, and released on June the 7th, 1996. Filmed primarily on Alcatraz Island in San Francisco Bay with various other locations around California, the film was directed by Michael Bay, written by David Weisberg, Douglas S. Cook and Mark Rosner, and stars Sean Connery as Captain John Mason, Nicolas Cage as Dr. Stanley Goodspeed, Ed Harris as Brigadier General Frank Hummel, John Spencer as FBI Director Womack, William Forsythe as FBI Agent Paxton, and Michael Biehn as Commander Anderson.
Yeah.
And loads of other really angry guys.
Yeah, everyone's angry.
Right then, let's get cracking, yeah.
Let's do it.
If you come to San Francisco, summertime will be a loving there, unless a rogue general turns up with 15 missiles.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of The Rock.
The beginning.
The Rock opens like a bullet out of a gun and doesn't slow down much after that. The first act brings us the military weapons heist, a takeover of America's most famous prison, introductions to our two main characters, plus a certain car chase.
It does.
Yes.
So after seeing General Hummel in a rain-soaked cemetery talking to his late wife, we're straight into the stealing of a deadly nerve gas. Hummel and his men then make their move on Alcatraz Island, taking tourists hostage and threatening San Francisco with annihilation unless the US government pays out to the families of dead covert operatives. A slow start, Westy.
Yes.
How was the opening of The Rock?
A snail's pace, isn't it? I mean, what a great premise. I mean, it is a great premise to open.
It is.
And even a general visiting his wife's grave is still incredibly heavy and dramatic.
It's angry.
Angry, rain-soaked, big booming soundtrack. And then we're into this, what should in any other film be kind of like a 1.5 minutes at a push, really quick, let's steal the stuff and get out of there. The whole thing's just turned into this massive set piece, and there's so much exposition just kind of shoehorned into this. We're not going to kill anybody. We've got a couple of minutes till the darts wear off. We're going to show you what the VX gas does. We're going to show you that Hummel's in charge, but then again, he's a little bit against what his mates are doing. He doesn't quite know. He's not really 100% in control, and they're all underhand, but they're all really professional, so we know who we're up against here. It's already scary. It's already setting up the bad guys really well, and that's just classic Michael Bay. He just looks at every single scene and goes, how can I elevate this? How can I move the camera? How can I push the camera in? How can I spin it round somebody? How can I make this just even more dramatic and punch people in the face? He just does not let you breathe. There's no way you're lowered into this. I mean, imagine if Michael Bay is like teaching you to abseil. You don't just take a couple of steps off this, just literally just lets the rope go and you're like, fuck! And you're just all the way to the bottom. And then you'll stop and go, well, you got to the bottom, didn't you? So, well, I wanted to enjoy the view, but he doesn't let you. And this is the top of the mountain and you see him let go of the rope and you cannot get your feet in. It's just a brilliant way to start the film. And honestly, if you don't like this set piece, just turn it off. Because this is it. You're in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because even the opener at the cemetery with Hummel in the rain, that is huge. The score is like massive.
It's like the end of any other film.
It really is. It's a nice bit of backstory for him, to be fair, kind of confessing everything to his wife. I do like that.
Yeah.
I would say that rain is about as obvious as a rain machine gets. It's like all over the place. I'm sure it's going up at one point.
Probably.
But it's like a montage of military funeral, gunshots in the background, really dramatic voiceovers. Then The Rock comes up in a pretty boring font.
Yeah.
But it's about as on the nose as it gets. It feels like a video game cutscene or something.
It kind of does, yeah. Isn't The Rock in flames as well and it goes into it?
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Of course it does. What am I even asking that question for?
But I do kind of like it. And then we're into the heist where Hummel's men steal the gas. Big plot point, but also white knuckle action to like set the tone, and also a good setup of how dangerous this stuff is, because we get that one guy having to be left behind as he's been caught by the gas, trapped inside the room as it slams shut. Classic action movie stuff.
Yeah.
I do love the lighting as well. That deep blue with like a almost black wash it has. It's very Aliens.
It's very Aliens.
But hey, why not?
It's like, this is serious, guys. Okay, we get it. And David Morse is like, sorry. Does he mean it? Does he not? And it's horrible, the effect on that guy. But it does it sets the tone for us. It's like, that's terrifying if that's going to happen to like 1 million people.
It does. It sets up exactly what kind of film this is going to be. It's going to be frantic action, lots of shouting, not exactly subtle. So you're either in or you're out straight away. And to be honest, I'm in.
Of course, why not?
So after this, Hummel and his team take over the Rock. I mean, there seems to be no one pursuing them, despite the fact they've nicked these 15 missiles. There's no one on the heels yet, that's fine. No one's noticed. But when they get to the Rock, there's actually quite a nice touchy when Hummel tells those kids, or tell your teacher you've got to leave now.
Yeah, that's
so he clearly doesn't want to have children as hostages, and obviously that probably tells you he's also not going to launch the missiles anyway, because they'll only go to the city, so he doesn't want to kill them. And that scene doesn't need to be there really, but it does help sell the ending when we realise Hummel never had any intention of really going through it, and that he isn't some cold-blooded psychopath, so I like that bit. But I tell you what though, Ranger Bob loves his job, doesn't he?
He does.
Loves it.
I mean, what a guy he is. One sock rolled up high and then the other one just down around his ankle.
Classic.
Ludicrous look, really lazy. What's the matter, fella? Something wrong with the tour? And then poor Bob, he gets nothing but grief from that woman he's put in the cell with, and he says he's not allowed to carry a gun. I got a goddamn gun. If I'd known this was going to happen, I'd bring my motherfucking gun.
I'm sure that character was in every single action film in the 90s.
Every single Michael Bay film, absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of our relations is in the tram later on.
Yeah.
He's kicking off as well. Yeah, amazing.
But the Marines are just locking up innocent tourists in the cells, which is pretty outrageous. But I think it's quite clever because it does some work in giving us some of the geography of the prison straight away. That gets used later on. And it's around this time that we get Hummel's monologue to his men. It's like, we can't be giving up any action scenes, so it's exposition and the backstory all in one go. Just cram it all in.
Yeah.
Why not?
And then we cram in the call to the Pentagon, where Hummel tells him his demands. It's pretty tense. You do straight away understand what kind of villain Hummel is, because he has got a motivation, and it's a relatable one. They've been screwed over by the man, basically.
Yeah.
And he's got a plan. But thank the Lord for Ed Harris. Obviously, we'll talk more about him later, but he can really pull off these bang, bang, bang dialogue scenes. He's the main guy in the first 15 minutes or so, and it could have been completely ludicrous with anyone else delivering all these lines. So he's a great person to kind of lead us in.
Yeah, he's like straight off the back of Apollo 13 doing this. He's like, we've seen him in that. Right, let's get him as a general.
Yeah, same guy.
Same guy.
And the production was filmed on the real Alcatraz, and the tourists we see are played by a mix of production extras and actual visitors to the island. The actor who gets the most lines is obviously Ranger Bob, given the tour, and he's played by Tom Towles. And Ed Harris kept ruining takes because he couldn't stop laughing at Towles.
Yeah, it was that old school Ranger uniform, surely. I'm waiting for Yogi Bear to show up with that guy.
Stealing picnic baskets.
Also, the Ranger's in there. You get a really good scene, and then we just never see him again.
Never see anyone again, really.
Swallowed up.
Like hands out of the cells when Mason's walking past us. That's all we see.
So that's the opening. Feels like we've had a whole first act, and we're only about 10 minutes in. But Hummel set out his stall. Let's meet the men who've got to clean it up, shall we?
Let's do that.
So with Hummel in control of Alcatraz and a death clock ticking on San Francisco, we're 10 minutes in, we meet our heroes. An ex-British spy named John Mason is hauled out of his cell to break back into Alcatraz, but not before we see FBI chemical weapons specialist Dr. Stanley Goodspeed in action. Our main characters, Westy, how are they introduced?
Very well, I think, but again, very dramatically. I mean, just spinning around, firing at that target. There's a little thing that he's made up, and he owes him $5. And the way that his partner's framed on his first shot with them two fans behind him with a wide-angle lens, and he's just leaning on his desk. It's like, there's no need for that level of drama here. It's just this light blasting through these fans turning around. And then they get a call. Obviously, there's been a package delivered. The first package gets delivered is the Beatles album and says he's a Beatlemaniac. That doesn't get used half as much as it should have.
Yeah. It doesn't get used at all.
Exactly. That's what I mean. But he's just a Beatlemaniac and then it's out of there. I mean, imagine if there's some quips at the end. We've got Rocket Man. You're the Rocket Man. But it could have just been like, goodbye, Goodspeed. He said, you say goodbye. I say hello. And then launches the rocket at him.
Or it could just be an Elton John LP. That would have been great.
Yeah.
And then we've got it, both ways. But anyway, got this great moment where he's playing with the baby, everything looks okay, the package is being delivered, this starts spraying, and it's a wonderful moment because the camera's moving now and you want it to, you want this kind of pace and this excitement, there's that world that's going up trying to suck everything out the room. The sprinklers don't work, So that's great. So that, again, adds tension. The suit's getting melted. And then all he's got to say is, we've got two big problems here. One, the eating through the suits. And two, you wouldn't really have the room or the time to explain that as much. You would just go, me suit, C4, ah! And just like kind of scream in the room. But it's just great because it shows that he's really good under pressure. He eats the pressure. He loves it. Then we've got the introduction to the atropine shot. He hates that atropine shot. Get that away from me. And we understand where that payoff is. The whole point of this is to show that Goodspeed's good under pressure. The FBI headquarters, federal building sprinklers don't work, so they're inept. But he hates the atropine shot. But that's repeated yet again as in the helicopters, and then it's repeated again at the end. Again, what an incredible set piece. What an incredible amount of excitement and entertainment for such little information. But that's Michael Bay, and that's The Rock.
Yeah, it is. Like Dr. Stanley Goodspeed, ridiculous name, but it is The Rock, so that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, his main intro is diffusing the doll bomb full of poison gas, and it is your classic thing, isn't it? Showing your main character doing what they do best right at the start, so we know he's capable, and it does that well. It also sets up having to inject the needle into yourself, like you're saying, Westy, when you come in contact with the gas. That comes up later, but it is still classic Bay. Everyone just yelling at the top of their lungs at each other while a load of alarms go off in the background.
We're screwed. We're fucked. It's not going to work.
Also classic Bay is that it doesn't feel entirely thought through. The agent in the chamber with Goodspeed, why is he there? He's a total liability. Playing around with the doll annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when they tell him to inject himself, and he's just like, you want me to stick this needle into my heart? Why doesn't he know any of this really important information already? The other thing we see just after this as well is Goodspeed's home life. We meet Carla, the pregnancy, the rooftop sex. It's pretty ludicrous, but we know that he's a man with everything to lose.
Very naughty.
Naughty.
Yeah. It's classic 90s action setup. Give the hero a wife and an unborn child, and there's your backstory. Yep. But it's in there, and it works, and it's delivered only as Michael Bay does, I think.
Yeah.
So the bomb suit that Cage wears in this scene was a real EOD bomb disposal suit, and the baby was custom rigged so it really emanated gas. Shooting the scene though, Cage told Bay he was afraid he was so clumsy he'd destroy all the props. So the assistant prop master, Skip Crank, what a name that is by the way, dressed in Cage's costume and acted as his arm and hand double. Do you know the insert shots?
Nice.
destroy all the props, just smashing the setup. Just stick to the script, surely.
Yeah. Easy. Just tweezers, isn't it?
You can't be that clumsy.
Yeah, Goodspeed's wife-to-be, Carla, was played by Vanessa Marcil, who was mainly known at the time for the TV show General Hospital. She later said her audition for The Rock was strangest she'd ever had. This is ridiculous. She was given a script for a very long scene where her character had to sing a country and western song, then speak in a New Zealand accent, then a New Jersey accent, then a western accent, then burst into tears. She said she wouldn't do all that without being paid, but when she found out that Sean Connery and Ed Harris were attached, she did it and got the part.
Insane audition.
That's a hell of an audition, that.
And apart from the New Jersey accent, Carla does none of those things in the film.
None of those things.
Not a bit of it.
But yeah, Vanessa Marcel, she was in General Hospital, like you said, and she was also in a Prince video. She was the most beautiful girl in the world.
Oh, right, nice.
All right.
Great.
I mean, she doesn't have a lot to do here, but I think she's quite good in the film.
Yeah.
She is, yeah.
She's memorable, which is all she can be with that part.
She's a female character in a Michael Bay film. You're not giving a lot to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Mason's been released. Goodspeed saved the day, and now they're going to meet at this interrogation. And we'll talk about the writing later, obviously, but I think this is definitely a scene that got a lot of polish on it before Connery was happy with it, I imagine.
Yeah.
Because it's genuinely funny, and it's like the dialogue's really good here, and you can tell a lot's being put into it. Because Goodspeed, completely out of his element, taking this interrogation. I mean, he starts off with that really cheery, hi, when he opens the door. Like, you know, like he's not talking to prisoner. I'm an agent with the Federal FBI. Well, I'm Stanley Goodspeed. But of course you are. And then that cut to Paxton watching this on the other side of the mirror. Well, at least he got his name right. So it's really funny, this scene. And Goodspeed is just so rubbish when Mason says, coffee. No, I'm fine, thank you. No, for me, coffee. It's just this wonderful back and forth between the two of them. And then he tries to stamp his authority, like raises his voice. Can we get some coffee, please? And he's just so rubbish here. But there's some nice little bits of character writing here as well. I think Mason's opinion of Goodspeed slightly goes up when he realises he can speak Greek, so he thinks, oh, okay, this guy isn't a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And then when he finds out Goodspeed is an anti-terrorism agent, he uses that to demand a luxury hotel because he knows, oh, well, if this is anti-terrorism and I've been released, this is very serious, so they're going to give me anything I want.
Yeah.
And, so I think that's pretty well done as well.
It's a big old slab of exposition, I think, basically, but it's a really good exposition scene. I like how it looks. The set for the cell and the way it's all shot is good. And great to see Connery, obviously, especially with crazy long hair. And the scene is just insanity, because Paxton goes in there first to deal with Mason. He gets nowhere, fine. But then, for no reason, they just send Goodspeed in. Goodspeed even says, I'm not qualified for this at all. And Womack just goes, so? And then he's in there, and that's the guard that takes Mason's handcuffs off. This apparently super dangerous guy, and Womack and Paxton are observing and just go, that's one way to go. Not that bothered though.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But the chemistry between Connery and Cage is there straight away, and that carries the film at times, so that's great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Mason getting the coin and then circling the one-way window and smashing it through, surely that's not a thing. But then Connery's delivery, Womack, you piece of shit! That is hilarious.
Womack. Brilliant.
And we do see Womack break up Mason's pardon as well, so it has some narrative importance, but I think it's a really good scene. I like it quite a lot.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I would love to try that, like just circling a window with a quarter and then see if it weakens the glass. Maybe it's a thing. I've never heard of that.
Punch it out, yeah.
Yeah.
Try it next time, Westy.
I will try it. I mean, I don't know when the next time was going to be, but I'll keep it in the back of my mind now. Yeah, sure.
And William Forsythe said in this scene he decided to take some risks and improvise with Connery. The line where Paxton says, while you've still got some lead in your pencil, to Mason, that wasn't in the script. And neither was the moment where he walks past Mason and taps him on the head. And Forsythe said he was nervous because he thought Connery might go, who the hell do you think you are? But he reacted to both moments in character.
Nice. Foresight.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
I mean, Connery's far and away the best thing about this scene.
Yeah.
It's his presence. He just totally commands the room, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
As always.
Right, so he gets away, which is ludicrous. I mean, the San Francisco singing in the shower, all that is great. The room service, everyone's impressed with room service in every one of these action films, and I love it. It's just so, lobster, yeah, it's like the Beverly Hills Cop when they get the whole like shrimp salad sandwich thing brought out.
That takes all the FBI out of action.
All of them. I know. Have they never been fed before?
Yeah.
But all he asks for is like, room service, do you have drinks, snacks, huh? And that's it. Like anything in particular? No, just send everything up. All right, fine. To San Francisco. So anyway, a ludicrous escape. We'll not get into that, but what we will get into is an even more ludicrous moment is the car chase. So he gets hold of a Hummer, which is always a classic. It's somebody's Hummer. You've seen it before, timeless times. I mean, this is just a complete Speed rip-off. They've seen Speed and went, let's just do Speed in like 3 minutes. And this is kind of like arguing with a toddler. It's like, it's never going to happen. You might as well just let it play out because it is going to absolutely smack you around the face. Everything gets hit that needs to be hit. Everything that looks good is slowed down into slow motion. It's backlit. There's 4 to 6 camera setups on every single one of these moments,
right?
Which is just ludicrous for the amount of coverage that they need. I find this hilarious now, but I find it so entertaining when it cuts to the internals of the cars and the camera's just going, yes, this is in a studio. Yes, the set's still like this, but the camera's going and zooming in and moving everywhere. It's like, make it look frenetic, make it look busy, make it look scary. Wow, 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 wow. And he's like, right, okay, we'll sell that. That's not a problem. And then you get that lovely old woman crossing the street. No, get out the way. And I just love their moments where it's got really frenetic action. It's really heavy cuts, and then it cuts to the inside of the car, and then you've got there's a truck with the water bottles on going really slow too, and then it cuts back to the action. And I'm just watching it going, I've just got such a headache here. And this, all of this is just utterly pointless for any of the story, really. It's literally just smashes up San Francisco so we can introduce his next of kin, which is then the reason why Mud sticks to the mission and doesn't go through with leaving, right? So that's it. That's that tiny bit. But now let's smash up San Francisco. It's just classic Bayhem. It's just absolutely mental. But it's great, and it's just so entertaining. I mean, for them to get a Humvee and then to get a Ferrari, but that Humvee hits every single thing that it can, and it's in great shape. Not a dent in it. How does Goodspeed know how to ride a motorbike? This always used to make me upset when I was younger, because I thought I need to know how to ride a motorbike, because every single action hero, when they get into a bit of a pinch, picks up a motorbike. First Blood, Hard Target, The Rock. There's always that moment where you're like, I need to jump on a motorbike and get away. And it sets up then a dialogue sequence. Thank God for that. But the actual car chase, I mean, what a piece of work from Bay, but it's absolutely crazy.
It is. I mean, it all starts with Mason's visit to the barbers doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mason just hurling Womack off the roof. That is classic Bay. Total Bayhem. But yeah, it's all leading just to the car chase.
Yeah.
It is the first massive action scene. It might be the biggest one in the film. Still, classic 90s action, and I think it holds up. It's well put together. It's a bit different from the San Francisco car chase in Bullet.
Just a bit.
Say the least.
Yeah, Bullet's like patient, long takes, long shots. Peter Yates, the director, lets it like breathe more.
Yeah, at least you see San Francisco in Bullet.
Yeah.
You don't even see the city in this.
Bay has no time for that nonsense.
No.
It's frantic as hell. It feels like there's a cut every 2 seconds. There's so many angles. You must have just had the streets of San Francisco lined with cameras.
Yeah, I think there is a cut every 2 seconds, John, to be honest.
And there's a touch or two of comedy. The old lady shuffling across the road, and the cable car conductor shouting, "Save yourselves!"
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
My baby.
Yeah. I love how it ends. The cable car explodes and jumps up in the air for some reason, and then starts sliding down the bank. The gravity's all over the place in San Francisco.
Exactly, yeah. And good speed, it's like, the airbag's gone off and he has to get out the car just in time, but it's like there's massive peril and it totals the Ferrari. It's like, would have just maybe bumped into it a little bit. It's so exaggerated, but I love it.
But all this stuff is Bay's style. It seems like this that makes him popular, I think. And this is probably one of the defining action sequences of his career.
Yeah, I think it's the single most unnecessary scene I've ever seen in any film ever. I mean, it's just so ludicrous to the point of parody. As we've been saying, that little old lady on a walker crossing the road.
Yeah.
Then there's the group of basketball players in wheelchairs.
Oh,
and then
yeah, I forgot about that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Then he's ploughing through all the parking meters. It's like something out of The Naked Gun. Like, the only thing missing from this scene is two guys carrying a massive pane of glass across the road.
Exactly.
At one point. That's all it needs. But you've mentioned the tram. When that gets knocked off its tracks and it smashes into a car, yes, it's going to cause some damage. It's not going to explode like that.
No.
I mean, the way it sends the tram up in the air, like it's a car full of dynamite or something. And then, as you say, it comes crashing back down and slides towards Goodspeed, is stuck in his car. That's a really gentle incline. It's just not going to slide like that. Like, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but The Rock does not obey the laws of physics at all.
No, it definitely doesn't. And Mason escapes and goes to see his daughter, Jade. Probably should have let the heat die down a bit first, but fine.
Yeah.
She's there for his backstory, obviously. I like her in there. I just think it's a shame that kind of yet again, she just vanishes after this.
No scene at the end.
Feels a bit like they forgot about her. Yeah.
The scene where Mason throws Womack off the balcony was filmed on location at the Fairmount Hotel in San Francisco. The film had led to loads of calls to the hotel by people who saw the stuntman dangling from the roof and thought he was someone actually in danger.
He might have been.
Yeah.
Womack is quite a character name. Should get Bobby Womack in there for Womack and Womack.
Why not?
Two agents.
That would have been great. No relation.
Exactly.
No, the other one. But the car chase wasn't in the original script, and Bay asked for it to be added after early test screenings felt the film started to sag. Bay said he had an argument with one of the writers over it, though he didn't say which one because they didn't want to add it.
Yeah, Bay said that his reasoning was that this would keep a younger audience engaged, and the writer said, "I've never heard a director talk about demographics before." And Bay was like, "If you're giving $60 million for a movie, you better know who you're selling it to." Which is fair enough, I think. It's one of the reasons his films make money, surely.
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely. But I mean, there's always a car chase within the first half an hour of a Michael Bay film, I think. There's always something.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Crazy that this is after the fact, though. I mean, they'd filmed everything and then went back to do this. It's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And he also said this was a writer who never had a single script made into a movie. Slammed.
Right.
And only Mark Rosner had no prior feature film credit before The Rock.
Right.
So there it is.
Probably him.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And he also said it was the biggest clusterfuck I've ever done in my career. He said getting clearances for the 2-block stretch required thousands of signatures. And when they fell behind on the shooting schedule, 3 studio execs turned up on set to find out what was going on.
Yeah, we have a bit more on that meeting shortly, as it was a story all of its own.
Yeah.
Sir Sean even got involved.
He did.
And the cable car we see, that was a decommissioned cable car body mounted on rubber tyres and attached to a winch so it could be towed without rails. And the moment it's launched amazingly through the air, it was achieved by placing an air cannon underneath the carriage.
Yeah, in Dream Quest, the effects studio, they amplified the explosion with some digital effects. Everything is just massive.
Yeah, it's amplified.
Just make it bigger.
Up to 11, everything. Yeah.
And the Ferrari F35 Spider that Goodspeed drives wasn't the full car. Cost about $130,000 at the time, so they had lots of bodies built with different internals so they could destroy them.
And they do. The body's just like ripped to shreds by the end. Imagine taking that to your local garage.
Yeah.
All right.
Sort that out, please, yeah.
It is pretty striking, that car, though, isn't it? That yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the yellow Ferrari, yeah. So they were both fake cars then. All right, that makes more sense. I mean, still audacious.
Yeah.
So that's Goodspeed and Mason introduced, our antagonist in Alcatraz, already about 5 action scenes and a 6-figure Ferrari pancaked. Time to talk about the man responsible for all the mayhem, surely.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's very responsible for it.
Isn't he?
The director.
The director of The Rock was the one, the only Michael Bay. This was just Bay's second feature, having broken out the year before with the buddy cop hit Bad Boys. Before that, he'd built a reputation directing music videos and high-end commercials. The Rock saw him step up to big-name director, Matt. So how was Michael Bay's work on The Rock?
I mean, the moment you know exactly what you're getting here is in that title sequence that we've talked about, because as we said, it's mournful. We see the funerals, we see Hummel addressing his wife's gravestone, and then for absolutely no reason, there's just this huge ball of flames at one point, just billowing out of nowhere. It serves no purpose whatsoever. Doesn't mean anything. And just go, yep, that's Michael Bay for you. Because people talk about mayhem, but it's not just a funny pun, it is the point. Like, he literally revels in mayhem, and I think that's important to point out, because he obviously gets pegged as an action director, and I don't know if he actually is a good action director, because all the sequences, you can never really tell what's going on, really, in terms of where everyone is in relation to everywhere else. This guy fires a gun, this thing explodes, this guy gets shot, he flies through a window. What's going on? Don't really know. He doesn't hold a shot like George Miller or John Woo do. It's about just creating sequences that are so frenetic, you end up in kind of a daze. As we say, it's not action, this is the mayhem. That's what he does. And the other thing he does is pace. I mean, he sets this film off like a rocket. Doesn't give you any time to think too much about it, thankfully. Just occasionally he will pump the brakes and let a character scene play out. Not very often, but he does do it.
Yeah.
But then he sets the whole thing off again. So it's certainly not subtle, but it's just very, very, very Michael Bay.
Yeah.
That's true enough. There's a David Fincher quote I like where he said the spectrum of directors and their styles has Steven Spielberg at one end and Stanley Kubrick at the other, and everyone sits somewhere along that line. Right. I think Michael Bay might be the one guy who proves that wrong, because he's just jumped right off the Spielberg end of the chart, never to be seen again.
Disappeared.
He's very focused on making action films that are big and tail on like a rocket, and he is good at that. I mean, a problem, and probably the criticism he gets, is that often comes at the expense of narrative. Because unlike Spielberg, Michael Bay's films sometimes have plot holes. Characters doing things just because the story needs them to, or geography that doesn't add up, or the famous one in Armageddon, surely it would be easier to teach astronauts how to drill than drillers how to become astronauts.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
There is some of that in The Rock, and we'll talk about some bits as we go. But at directing white-knuckle action and hitting big, broad narrative beats, I think that's Michael Bay's wheelhouse. That's what he's good at, and that's the foundation of what he does. Big set pieces and audience excitement. That's what he's going for, and that's his bread and butter, I think. I mean, we talked about the car chase. That is classic Michael Bay. Huge spectacle. It's fast-moving. Couple of comedy beats thrown in there. And that stuff, I think he does execute really well throughout this film. And he gets performances from the main cast. I mean, crazy, insane performances at times. Yeah. But I don't think it would be the same film without them.
Definitely not.
The performances are big enough to match the size of the filmmaking around them.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he exists as a filmmaker. I mean, I'm not sure I'd want too many Michael Bays, but one, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm not a fan of everything he does by any stretch, but Armageddon and Bad Boys are probably my favourites. And The Rock, this is top 3 Bay for me.
Right? He's just crazy. But I mean, in a good way, though. He kind of reminds me of Danny McBride in Tropic Thunder. Do you know? And he's just like, Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude. And he's just like blowing everything up and he's loving it and he's not bothered about anything else. But what Bay is really interested in, and I think it's his background as well, you've got to look at, is the MTV generation.
Yeah.
Just them fast cuts, that impact, that sensory overload, that making an impression in a few minutes was his job. He did commercials and he did music videos. He had to make an impact.
Yeah.
And once he was brought on, he just looked at every single film and he just looks at every scene as a micro kind of music video, and I think he always has done. He's kind of going, how can I make that from start to finish? If you played like any Aerosmith album over the top of The Rock, it fucking works.
And you have, haven't you?
Of course I have. If you watch it in black and white and play Aerosmith Rocks over it, it totally works. It's just the way that he directs, I think, is frowned upon a little bit, and it's made a little bit, because it, like you said, doesn't really care about the narrative, and his emotion is just a real punch the air, yeah, fuck you, we're going to win this, and it's all about just really high-end masculine energy of like, right, I can do this now because my wife's dead. I'm not going to betray your memory. Now I can do this. Please forgive me. How many fucking medals has that guy got? And now he couldn't do anything without his wife's permission. It's like, come on, dude. That's his look on things and that's his stance on things. It is so black and white, just really thick end of like the sledgehammer getting pushed into your face. There is just no room for any discussion whatsoever. And that's his style. And I think his sense of style, or the way that he shoots and his techniques, have been frowned upon. So I think a lot of this is done after the fact. He creates a set piece, he puts the lights where he needs to, and he shouts action. And I would imagine there's about 30 seconds of just this incredible action going off. Nobody has a fucking clue what's going on, but he's put a camera everywhere he needs to. There's a steady cam in there, there's handheld cameras, there's one on the floor, there's one on the ceiling, there's one left, there's one right. And he gets there in the edit room and goes, put that one in, put that one in, put that one in, put that one in. And it sets the pace and goes bam, 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 bam. And I think a lot of people are annoyed at that because a lot of people don't have that energy. And I think what Michael Bay did was introduce Hollywood as the loud Hollywood. You don't have to think to go to the movies anymore. There is an element of thought in these films. There is an element of emotion, but most of it is just smash, bang. The heroes are going to win. The baddies are going to lose. The guy's going to get the girl. The flag's going to fly at the end. The green flares are going to go. And it's just, punch the sky, punch you in your face. And you can't argue with Michael Bay because he'll just laugh all the way to the bank. And he goes, you know what? It does work because people have senses. And if you overload them, you are going to get their attention.
Yeah, well, he certainly does that.
Absolutely.
So in the 80s, Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer were one of the biggest producer teams in Hollywood, but when Days of Thunder went way over budget in 1990, they ran out of favour at Paramount and left. Disney brought them on board under their adult-aimed company Hollywood Pictures Touchstone, and in 1995 they produced Bad Boys, Crimson Tide and Dangerous Minds, all of which were big hits.
Some year that.
It was.
Yeah.
And around that time, Disney had bought a spec script by David Weisberg and Douglas Cook called The Rock. And I mean, they must have looked at their list of producers and went, well, no-brainer for Simpson and Bruckheimer to take this on, surely.
Yeah.
And Simpson and Bruckheimer had discovered Michael Bay when he directed the video for Chicago's Hearts in Trouble. And that led to them hiring him to direct Bad Boys. And because that had been a success, they hired him to direct The Rock as well.
Disney got the dream team to work on The Rock with those three.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael Bay did start as a highly thought of music video director, didn't he? Mm-hmm. And you can see that in his films. That feeling of there's not much time, get it all in.
Yeah.
Do you remember the video for I Do Anything for Love But I Won't Do That by Meatloaf?
Yes, yeah.
That was Bay. That's got the blue lighting as well.
Motorbike in there.
And Daniel Pearl was the cinematographer on that as well.
Oh, was he?
Oh, wow.
The studio wanted to shoot mainly in Los Angeles, which is very strange, with some exteriors of Alcatraz and San Francisco thrown in to reduce the budget, but Bay insisted that they shoot on Alcatraz for real. The island is managed by the National Park Service, and they wouldn't shut the place down completely, but allowed the production to shoot around the tourists. Bay said he told Disney, "I got to shoot this on the island, because this island is so fucking bitchin'." I mean, that's just Michael Bay, isn't it? What a delivery that is. Brilliant.
There's your tagline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The DP, John Schwartzman, said that on a Saturday shoot, there'd be about 40,000 tourists milling about on there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, most of it was shot on Alcatraz. The rule seems to be that anything that involves gunfire or explosions was on an LA soundstage. Anything else is on Alcatraz.
Right.
So about 3 scenes, probably.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But the exteriors, all the scenes in the cells, the rooms that Hummel's men are in, the shoreline, that's all the real Alcatraz. It's great, though. It does give it this very specific look, which helps, I think.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
And William Forsythe said working with Michael Bay was a trip, as he put it. He said the shoot felt like chaos, and Bay always seemed to be screaming or yelling at someone. It was so hectic that one day Forsythe was eating a hot dog, and an on-set assistant came running up to him and said, "Extras aren't allowed hot dogs," because she didn't realise he had a pretty major role.
Extras just getting treated like shit for
Yeah,
some reason.
yeah.
No hot dogs for you.
No.
Cool dogs, fuck off.
And Harry Humphreys was a former Navy SEAL and worked on The Rock as a consultant. He said that one day he got to the set and saw a man on fire while being suspended in the air. He said there was no camera crew nearby, so he grabbed a fire extinguisher. Michael Bay apparently just suddenly appeared from behind a bench and yelled at him, "It's the movies, man!"
Just people randomly on fire not being filmed.
Yeah, I mean,
Just in the air.
yeah.
I mean, there must have been some method to the madness some way, because it all got delivered on budget, it seems like, somehow as well.
Yeah, no one died somehow.
During filming, there were tensions between Bay and Disney, who weren't convinced that they knew what he was doing. Bay later told a story that one day he'd been called away from the set to a studio meeting. Sean Connery was on his way to play golf, And when Bay told him that he was going, Connery said, I'm coming along. In the meeting, Connery blasted the executives. He said Bay was doing a great job and they should leave him alone. What a lovely story that is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Connery rocked up in full golfing attire. The studio must have been like, what the hell's going on? But yeah, Bay did say that after this, they never bothered him again.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Connery with a golf club, I'll say. Listen to whatever he's got to say. Imagine Connery in Caddyshack. It'd be amazing.
Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of Connery.
Too right.
But there were tensions between the producers as well. In the years previous, Don Simpson had developed a serious drug problem, and that took its toll on his relationship with Jerry Bruckheimer. Simpson was barely on set for The Rock, and during production, Bruckheimer dissolved the partnership, meaning The Rock and Bad Boys 2 would be the last films they produced together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last resort. It seemed like Bruckheimer tried every which way to help Simpson, but he was in deep. Apparently, he was spending $75,000 a month on drugs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently he was like 90% cocaine.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Which is crazy. Yeah, everyone knew about it as well. There was just
Yeah.
no helping him at that point, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, sadly, on January 19th, 1996, the day production wrapped on The Rock, Simpson was found dead in his bathroom of an overdose. The coroner said he had 21 different drugs in his system when he died.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that's why the film has a dedication in memory of Don Simpson at the end.
Yeah.
Apparently, Simpson's own doctor had died of a drug overdose a few months before. I
Right.
mean, that's not good, is it? The guy who's trying to get you off drugs dies of an overdose.
Yeah.
Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from that, back to something lighter. We now have a question from our ATRM patrons. So, as we said, one benefit of many of becoming an ATRM patron and joining our community is we answer your questions on the show. So, 2 Count Kyle is here.
Hello, Kyle.
Hello, Kyle.
So Kyle says, it's easy to criticise Michael Bay, and for the record, I do too, but I've always said The Rock is the dog's bollocks. So I'm curious, who's a director you're not usually a fan of who's had one banger in their filmography, and what is that banger? Bangers and mash there, Westy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
I've got 2, if that's all right. But one sprung to mind that was like very similar to this one, so I thought I'd better come up with a different one because it just felt like a bit of a cheat. So I've gone for Simon West and Con Air.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I kind of think of much more that he's done. Expendables 2, The Mechanic, Bride Hard, Tomb Raider. None of them are a patch on Con Air, really. But the one that really stood out to me was Richard Kelly, who did Donnie Darko.
Nice, yeah.
Nice.
He didn't touch anything after Southland Tales, The Box with Cameron Diaz. Just nothing. Absolutely nothing. But Donnie Darko is an incredible film.
Yeah.
That is really good. Well, yeah, there was one that jumped straight out for me, which is Roland Emmerich and Independence Day.
Independence Day, yeah.
I think Emmerich's filmography is mostly disaster movies, isn't it? It's all like 2012, The Day After Tomorrow, Godzilla, disasters in more ways than one. I always found them to be huge and loud and pretty empty, except Independence Day, which I do like. I mean, the cast helps a lot because you got Will Smith, who's great, proper movie star in there. Jeff Goldblum, obviously, is great. I like Bill Pullman in there.
Yeah.
And some of the imagery, the alien scout ship swooping down on the airbase or the main ship blowing up the White House, absolutely massive.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, it is insane and parts of it make no sense, but I do like it quite a lot. And I'd love to do an episode on it at some point.
Okay, good luck with that.
Yeah.
By myself, by the looks of your faces.
Definitely.
And Matt, what about you?
I mean, to be fair, it would be Michael Bay with this. But I did think one more, because obviously that's a bit of a lazy answer.
Yeah.
So it was this guy's debut film, which I like a lot, but everything after that I've just got no time for, and it's Zack Snyder with Dawn of the Dead.
Right.
I mean, probably ironic that his best film is him remaking an absolute classic, because that's usually complete folly from a director. But
Okay.
I do think giving it that 28 Days Later twist of fast zombies works really well. But everything after that, though, I don't like how he thinks superhero films should be. They're just kind of dour and grim and no fun, and everything else is style over substance, and I don't particularly like his style. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead I'll go back to quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've put Dawn of the Dead next to like 300. Is that the same guy?
Yeah.
I mean, I love 300 anyway, but it's a real guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, there were no Oscars for Michael Bay for directing The Rock. Surprising.
Yeah.
Do you remember the winner that year?
What's it, 97?
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan?
Braveheart.
It was Anthony Minghella for The English Patient.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah.
I mean, tomato. Same thing, innit?
Yeah.
As for Michael Bay, though, a man whose career has its critics, but The Rock, for all its faults, there is some good action filmmaking in there too.
There is.
The cast.
Michael Bay had 3 big acting names on The Rock and 3 different performances. We're going to be talking Sean Connery as John Mason, the only man to ever escape Alcatraz, and Ed Harris as General Hummel, the Marine pulling the trigger on the whole nightmare. We'll start, though, with the man at the forefront.
Let's do it.
So Nicolas Cage plays Dr. Stanley Goodspeed. The FBI's chemical weapons specialist, Goodspeed is the reluctant hero we follow from a guy with a pregnant girlfriend to the man tasked with sneaking into Alcatraz to defuse those VX rockets. Cage was coming straight off his Best Actor Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, Matt.
Yes, he was.
So how was he as Goodspeed? Oscar worthy?
Well, obviously, completely natural follow-up role, this one, isn't it? I mean, the character to start off with, it's foolproof, really. You know, take someone completely out of their comfort zone, drop them into a scenario where it's up to them to save the day, and automatically it's just 100 times more interesting than if this was a seasoned Navy SEAL on there. And it's just such a 90s piece of casting as well. I mean, you've mentioned Leaving Las Vegas, but also coming off the back of Wild at Heart, Raising Arizona, and you go, this guy is an action hero. Doesn't make sense whatsoever, but that's probably why it works. You know, when Nicolas Cage commits to something, he really commits, and he brings every bit of that kind of offbeat, bizarre persona that he has, where it's like he's like kind of riffing on a jazz beat. This performance, that's what it's like. That very unique delivery that he has. I mean, pretty much every line, he just makes it work in a really weird way. You know, what say we cut the chit chat? A-hole, and then you combine that with this very dorky, very geeky character, and it really, really works. I really like him in this.
Yeah, it's an outrageous performance. 1 minute he's all quiet and reserved. Literally 3 seconds later, he's screaming like a banshee.
Yeah.
I think anyone else trying to pull this off would be laughable.
Yeah.
I mean, some might think Cage is, but I'm all right with him. I think he's charismatic, and that carries him through the crazy line delivery. Like the Womack over the building scene we talked about might be the first really outrageous Cage line delivery, where Mason's like, drop the gun or I'll drop your bosh. And Goodspeed goes, you will not. Why do you say it like that? I also like the bit when Hummel is threatened to shoot that hostage, Mr. Henderson, the crybaby.
Yeah.
And Goodspeed's like, what about Mr. Henderson's head? Mason just gives him a thumbs up. And Goodspeed's like, okay, what do you mean? That's really funny.
Yeah, it's great, yeah.
I mean, as a character, the writing is there, really, because he has an arc, the classic everyman to near superhero by the end, so it does what it needs to. Cage just ramps it all up to 100. But again, I do kind of like it. He has a really good rapport with Connery, and he's good in the action scenes, which you kind of have to be, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's all just overshadowed mostly by the random craziness. I mean, what you can't accuse Cage of is not committing to the role.
Yeah.
Whatever the opposite of phoning it in is, this is it.
Yeah.
So, outrageous, charismatic, totally into it. It's like vintage Nicolas Cage, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. He's won an Oscar and then he does this. It's just, it still baffles me. Not only does he do this, he does Con Air and then Face Off, like bang, 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 3 in a row. It's just amazing, but he's just such a good nerd hero here. Sometimes it feels like he's in a different film. He approaches it. You're going to laugh when I say this, but this is how I feel his preparation is. He does approach this like it's an indie drama. Like he's got every line and he's studied every line and he's trying to get emotion from every line. He's making the character caring but not soft. He's making him vulnerable and unique, and it really does work. There's some moments in here. There's pure Cage turning into an action star. When he's in the mine shaft and Mason's getting attacked, he picks the gun up and it's his first kill.
Yeah.
You can see his face just drops and he just shoots that gun and you think, oh, actually, he'd be good in Con Air. But he looks very comfortable in that role and he transforms really well over the film. And you're right, both of you are right. I mean, he does not phone this in at all. He parachutes in without a parachute and he's fine with it.
Yeah.
And in the first versions of the script, Stanley Goodspeed was a desk jockey desperate for some action. And the first person offered the part wasn't Nicolas Cage, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Don Simpson took him the script when it was unfinished, and Schwarzenegger said it was 80 pages with a lot of handwriting and scribbles on it. It didn't seem fully baked. So Schwarzenegger said no, and later said he regretted it.
Wouldn't it be much better when it was finished, surely?
No.
Yeah.
82 pages.
I mean, the character Goodspeed became, Arnold can't be doing that, surely, can
No.
he?
I don't think so.
No.
Let's cut the chit-chat, a-hole.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah, I don't think it would have worked.
No, I don't think so.
Simpson and Bruckheimer then approached Nicolas Cage to play Goodspeed. Cage said he took the part partly because people in Hollywood had told him he was too quirky to be an action star, and he saw it as a real challenge. That comes across in the film.
Yeah.
His reported $4 million salary might have helped as well.
Yeah.
Well, there is that. That does help.
Bruckheimer said that only Cage could win an Academy Award and then walk in to play this role in The Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he surely is.
Yeah, definitely. Top 3, surely.
And Cage made some changes to the character in the script. It was his idea that Goodspeed wouldn't swear, so he changed all the cursing in the script to lines like gosh and gee whiz instead. The Zeus's butthole line came from Cage as well, and so did the moment in the climax when Goodspeed shoves the VX sphere in the seal Fry's mouth and says, "Eat that, you fuck."
Yeah. In the original script, Goodspeed said, "Did I ever tell you I was going to be your dad?" And Cage is like, "Nah, I'll get something a bit more subtle in there."
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah.
And at the start of the scene where Carla tells Goodspeed she's pregnant, Goodspeed is playing his guitar naked. This was obviously Cage's idea, and he told Bay it helped show the character was at home.
Yeah, so Bay said that's what Cage said, but he knew that he just wanted to show his body off because he'd been working out.
Yeah, fair enough.
And apparently Cage just turned up on the set dressed like that, and Bay was like, "All right, let's just get it over with then."
And in the middle of filming, Cage showed Bruckheimer in Bay Jaws. He did that and told them he wanted to emulate Richard Dreyfuss's performance as Hooper, the shark scientist.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can see similarities in the character, but not the performance, I don't think.
Definitely not on the performance, no.
Imagine Dreyfuss going off like this in Jaws. Robert Shaw would have lost his mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
And another thing as well, Cage changed the character's name. He was originally called Bill Goodspeed, so Cage changed it to Stanley.
Right.
That change I do like.
Yeah.
For his performance as Stanley Goodspeed, Nicolas Cage did not make it back-to-back Oscars. Winner that year was Jeffrey Rush for Shine.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Imagine ousted by Cage as Goodspeed.
Fair enough. I mean, I watched this more than I watched Shine, to be honest.
Well, for us, this is classic, top-tier, outrageous Nicolas Cage in action.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Outcageous. Next up, Sean Connery as John Patrick Mason, a former British SAS captain locked up for over 30 years without trial. We see Mason recruited to the team to help break into Alcatraz before forming a bond with Goodspeed to help complete the mission and, presumably, reconciling with his daughter.
Yes.
He's definitely too old to be talking about prom queens, but we're still.
Yeah.
And with Sean Connery and Mason.
He is too old to be talking about prom queens, but having said that, he looks younger in this than he does in Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And I don't quite know why. He's just got so much more energy and he's just so much more rugged and old school. It's almost
Those
like...
little round glasses maybe in Last Crusade.
Very possibly. I mean, it's probably the whole outfit and the performance, to be fair. I mean, there is that, but he does look, like he's got a lot more to this, and I think this might have been on the back of Bond being reborn again, with Brosnan coming back and GoldenEye being a thing, and he's like, right, I've still got this, I'm going to prove what I can do. And he's very charming with it. He's very funny. He's got a witty edge to all of his lines. It's just the physical presence that he's got on screen. Just demands attention no matter who he's talking to. That great scene he has with Ed Harris, and they're just batting it backwards and forwards, and it's just perfect. When he's just walking towards him, you know that this is going to be a good back and forth. I'm really going to enjoy this. The fact that he just does work so well with Nicolas Cage, even though Nicolas Cage's bombast should really have pissed him off. It should have been like Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey when they did Batman Forever, and he's just, I'm just sick of this guy. Like, what am I even doing here?
I cannot sanction your buffoonery. That's what he said to him.
Should have been something like that, but I cannot sanction your buffoonery. Would have been amazing. It works because his gruff persona works with the wiry Cage, so they kind of work together as if they've sat and had coffee and discussed it and just been like, this is exactly how we're going to play this, and it's going to play well. Some of his line delivery is amazing. When he shoots that air conditioner on the guy's head and his foot's going, and he's like, is that normal? He's like, can you do something about it? He's like, what do you want us to do? Kill him again?
Yeah,
the brilliant line. And he's got some really good lines. Good all, yes, I'm fine, you fucking idiot. And he's just he's having a great time, and we're having a great time. Watch him have a great time. He's not taking this too seriously. He's not taking himself too seriously, which really makes this performance one of the best for me from Connery, and it's really timeless.
Connery is Connery, isn't he?
Yeah.
Won't change for anyone. Supposed to be Irish in The Untouchables, just speaks Scottish. Supposed to be English here, just speaks Scottish. Doesn't care, and it doesn't matter because his presence is enormous. That's what he brings, and he adds so much to this film that I don't think it would work without him.
Definitely not.
I mean, as a character, Mason starts like as a plot device. He's the person that helps them get into Alcatraz, but then they develop him with the stuff with Jade, which works. But still, it seems like half Mason's dialogue is exposition. Like the British intelligence backstory, or the microfilm, Hoover's in there, his daughter, all that stuff. With a lesser actor, I think he would just sit there as a plot device. With Connery, you're kind of hanging on every word. The scene with Jade, he does bring some drama to it. They both do, I think. Like, Jade's played by Claire Forlani, who's really good.
Yeah.
And the film needs it at that point. Cage kind of kicks it all in the head with that a-hole stuff, but fine.
Yeah.
And I think Bay knew what he had with Connery, and he leans into it, because obviously he was James Bond, and they tap into that so he can be charming. He can pull off playing someone who can handle himself, handle a gun. But I love Connery, obviously, and I'm very glad he's here because it wouldn't be the same without him.
Definitely not.
No, it would not be as big of a hit.
I don't think so.
It wouldn't be as tolerable as it is.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah. It's intolerable.
It's intolerable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think by this time in his career, I don't think Connery is really interested in doing anything new or pushing himself as an actor. I think what he wants to do is prove that at 65, he's still got leading man chops and charisma over anyone half his age. And that's exactly what he proves here. It's just the sheer presence that he can still bring at this point in his career. I mean, he showed it in Last Crusade where he was the only actor who could reduce Harrison Ford to a bumbling schoolboy like he does in that. So here, when Womack is talking about Mason in those hushed tones, you know, this guy is so dangerous, he's so capable, he could single-handedly bring down the American government. You need someone with that huge movie star persona of Connery to show up and make that believable, and he does. So, obviously, nowhere near being any kind of stretch from him as an actor. I can't think of anyone his age who would make this work off as well.
No, there probably wasn't at the time.
Maybe Hackman. Once Bay accepted the offer to direct, Jerry Bruckheimer sent the screenplay to Sean Connery, and Bay then flew to the UK on Concorde to pitch him the idea. Connery had two demands. He negotiated a reported $12 million salary and a producer fee as well. He also said the script needed work and said that he wanted one of his own writers brought in to rewrite some of his scenes, some of his dialogue.
Yeah, so those writers were Dick Clement and Ian Lafreniere.
Right.
Known mainly for British sitcoms like The Likely Lads, Porridge, Auf Wiedersehen, Pet.
Yeah.
But they'd also worked with Connery on his final Bond film, Never Say Never Again.
Right.
So that's why he wanted them in here.
Right.
Get the Auf Wiedersehen, Pet guys in.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously.
They'll sort this out.
Of course they will.
And there was also a rumour that Connery didn't like the idea of travelling to and from Alcatraz Island every day, so he asked the production to build him a cabin there. And the truth apparently is that Connery asked permission to anchor a yacht off the Alcatraz dock, but was denied by the Coast Guard. But he ended up staying in a Hyatt hotel in San Francisco, but there was no cabin.
Living in a hut. The Auf Wiedersehen lads would have been loving that. Us and the boys.
I was going to get us in there, yeah.
Well, before we move on, we have our second ATR and Patreon question. It comes from Simon. It's on Sean Connery, and it is a big one.
Okay. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Simon.
So Simon's question is pretty straightforward. Can you settle the Mason is James Bond argument for good? So for those who haven't came across this before, there's a fan theory about The Rock that Mason is actually James Bond. The argument being he's ex-British intelligence, he's the right age, he's got Bond charisma and charm, he's been locked up since the mid-60s, and obviously he's played by Sean Connery.
Yeah.
That's what Simon's referring to, Westy. So over to you. Is Mason Bond?
I mean, it's a really nice thought, isn't it? And this is something that you would think I would be all over, but I think there's just so much to this film, I don't really care if that's true or not. There's nothing else to find in his performance. Like, it's all there. It's nice to know if it is, but there is these little moments that point to maybe it is, maybe it isn't, when he's kind of like, maybe I'm losing my sex appeal. That's kind of like a little touch towards it. There's the whole suave nature that he's got, but the one thing that kind of is a red flag to me and maybe says that this isn't Bond, he went to a Led Zeppelin concert.
Yeah.
Now, James Bond wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
He'd go and see Queen. So that's my definitive answer, that it probably isn't James Bond.
Yeah, I mean, technically, no, he isn't Bond. At least that's not the intention. I mean, Bond was MI6, not SAS, like Mason says he is.
Yeah.
And if the intention had been to make him Bond, I think we would get some more subtle nods and things he says.
Yeah.
They'd have to be very careful, obviously, for copyright reasons.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll really get any. But also, of course, he's James Bond, because Connery's playing him exactly like Bond. Not intentionally, I don't think. That's just Connery.
It's all he knows, yeah.
I mean, like, the haircut scene we talked about is like a Bond scene. The way that he handles a fight, the way he handles a tailor, all of that is like Bond.
Yeah.
And there is one line, actually, because in the cell when Goodspeed says, I'm Stanley Goodspeed, Mason says, but of course you are. In Diamonds Are Forever, when Lana Wood says, I'm Plenty O'Toole, Bond says, but of course you are.
Yeah.
But I think that's a homage, not a this is James Bond.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic fan theory, and one that I reckon when the writers heard it, they might have thought,
that's
we
good.
should have done that.
Yeah.
So my answer, officially, no, Mason isn't Bond. Unofficially, yeah, he totally can be. And he should be, because it makes the film better if he is, I think.
Yeah.
And Matt, what do you reckon about Mason being Bond? Does no one do it better?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun thought, and I do like it when people come up with these theories themselves and put them out there, because, yeah, let's be honest, let's not credit the writers here with coming up with this themselves. I don't think they sat down for 1 minute.
Which one?
Yeah, exactly. We've got Connery. What if I put all these hints in? This is actually Bond. They didn't do that.
No.
No.
And obviously, it would have to be an alternate version, and you erase Moore and Craig and everyone else. But the thing that makes me say no, he's not Bond is the same reason Westy said. Jade says he met him with a Led Zeppelin gig. So considering that Bond is slating the Beatles in Goldfinger, there's zero chance he's a Led Zepp fan.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good.
For his performance as John Mason, Sean Connery received no recognition at the Oscars. Shock horror. He did, however, ingratiate himself with a new generation of moviegoers. And for us, this is top-notch late-period Connery on The Rock.
Oh,
Easily,
brilliant. Yeah. Connery on the rocks. Brilliant.
The final cast member we're discussing in depth is Ed Harris, who plays Brigadier General Frank Hummel. A highly decorated Marine driven by grief and rage at the government, Hummel orchestrates the takeover of Alcatraz, threatens to destroy San Francisco, and ultimately dies for his troubles in the third act. A villain with a cause, Matt. How was Ed Harris as Hummel?
I think he's the secret ingredient to this film that really makes it work, because for such a flashy, slick, typical action flick, the character of Hummel and Harris's performance is the one bit where you get an unusual amount of depth, I mean, relatively speaking, obviously, but the fact that he isn't just a homicidal maniac wanting to enrich himself, he's actually got a very understandable motive for doing what he does, and in a twisted way, it's actually quite noble why he's doing this. And I think what you always get with Harris is gravitas and intensity. So you believe everything that Hummel does and says, and that's doubly important towards the end, where you have to believe he had no intention of going through this if they called his bluff, and he hasn't just changed his mind in a convenient bit of plot contrivance, and Harris sells every little bit of it.
Yeah, I think he's a really interesting villain, Hummel, more than the film really makes the most of, probably, because he's the bad guy, and he does classic bad guy things like threatening to kill a whole city with poisonous gas. It's like the Joker. But his motivation's there, and to an extent understandable, because the men he served with and died were left to rot. The government won't even acknowledge them, and he's furious about the whole thing. So there is potential there for a really great villain, because there's depth, there's personal tragedy. He's got a moral argument as well, but the film never quite goes the full way with it. I mean, it doesn't even try, to be honest. He sort of just dies in the third act, and the film just moves on as if he never even existed. He could have been really memorable, but I think it stops a bit short of being that. But that's the writing, and Ed Harris is superb, because what he brings and what's essential is just line delivery. Because what you need from the actors in this film is people who can shout dialogue and get more from it than just sounding angry. Connery can do it, Cage does it in his own unique way, and Harris is the best of the lot at it. He's always shouting, but he brings authority and a touch of sadness to it somehow as well.
Yeah.
I love when Hummel takes down that upstart Sinclair in the first call at the Pentagon. Got no time for his nonsense. And I like the bit when Major Baxter, played by David Morse, he wants to give the Pentagon a new deadline, and Hummel's like, you've been asked by an old friend, you've been ordered by a superior officer, now you're being given your last chance by a man with a gun. That's really good. I can see their kind of whole friendship in that dialogue, and that's what Ed Harris does, really. He just brings gravitas. So, a very good performance in a slightly underwritten role, I think, for me.
I think Ed Harris knows this is underwritten, and I think that's why he brings this hardcore intensity to it.
Yeah.
What we've seen at the start as well makes him really sympathetic, and I love a sympathetic villain, and it really does play out, but I don't think his sympathy is rewarded, because he is quite reluctant in what he's doing. He's a reluctant terrorist. He is calling the bluff at the end of the day. And he should have maybe have been the hero. He should have sacrificed himself to stop the last missile. He should have done something to kind of to bring that full circle and not necessarily make it about Goodspeed or make it about Mason, make it about this guy and everything that he's been through, and it comes full circle and he still cannot win. But he's got such memorable delivery, like we've said. There's elements of what he does in The Truman Show, and what he did in Apollo 13, and he's got that real command of the screen. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he plays this as serious as a heart attack. Like, he is absolutely 100% committed to this. Sometimes I think, does he think he's in the same film? Performance really does work, but it's slightly out of place for me in its tone and its tension and its emotion. But, I mean, Ed Harris, anyone else, you would have just laughed them all the way out of it, but Ed Harris you've got to take seriously.
At all times, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And the character of General Hummel, this came from Don Simpson. He'd seen a piece on 60 Minutes about the US government's refusal to acknowledge soldiers who died during covert missions, and later read the memoirs of a colonel called David Hay Hackworth, who criticised US planning during the Vietnam War. He combined these into one character and came up with Hummel. Michael Bay said that Ed Harris was always his first choice to play the role, as he wanted somebody with weight and gravity, as he put it.
Yeah, weight. That's what you get with Harris,
Yes.
isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Huge weight
Yeah.
on those lines.
Unliftable. Yeah. What does he bench? Everything. Years after the film came out, some footage was released from the set of Ed Harris losing it. It was when they were filming the first call Hummel makes to the Pentagon. After not liking some direction he got from Michael Bay, Harris smashed the phone handset into the table hard enough to knock some props to the floor and kick some of the set decoration across the room while yelling at Bay.
I've heard the audio, and it's the bit when Hummel's talking to Sinclair, like we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
And firstly, Harris is in character. He's calling Michael Bay Sir, which is interesting.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but then Bay tells Harris he wants the way Hummel talks to Sinclair to be like, this little punk's only read this in a book. Fuck that guy. And Harris shouts, fuck that guy. Fuck you. And just loses his mind.
Wow. He's in a different film, man.
Yeah.
Well, for his performance as Hummel, Ed Harris, no Oscars. Some good work from him, though, in a role that maybe deserved a few more pages of development.
Yeah.
He
definitely.
deserved a proper ending that he didn't get.
Yeah.
Also, a different casting choice I find interesting. Stanley Anderson plays the president in this, and he's also the president in Armageddon. So, same universe.
Wow, the Bayverse. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll visit there, but I ain't going to live there.
I was going to say, yeah, I'll have a passing glance at it, and that's
I'll
it.
keep my headphones in if I go to the Bayverse.
Well, that's our main three. Nicolas Cage is the outrageous chemistry guy Goodspeed, Connery is the unlicensed to kill Mason, and Harris is the morally complex Hummel. There's a wider supporting cast too. We talked Vanessa Marcel, and we'll talk one or two more as we go, but our lead three, they all deliver what Bay needs from them.
Yeah, definitely.
The middle.
Heading into the middle of the rock, and our heroes are out on the bay about to make their move. We're going to be talking about the scenes on the island where Mason and Goodspeed find themselves captured by Hummel's men, but first we're with the guys as they break into the rock.
Yep.
So with our team assembled and ready to go, the Navy SEALs and the two new recruits make their way to Alcatraz. It brings us flame-filled booby traps and the famous shower room shootout where the SEALs are taken out by Hummel's men.
Yeah.
Bayhem incoming, Westy. Kick us off, won't you?
Come on. I mean, when it comes to the editing of this film and the pace of the editing to this point, and you get that title card that says 15 hours to deadline, that's a relief. Watching it, I'm going, oh, I've got 15 hours, right? I can just relax a little bit now. Everything's set up here. The green flares are set up. We've got speech from Michael Biehn. We've got a speech from the other guy. Men, masculine. All gets on top of it to the point where Bihn's then addressing the full platoon, and he's actually filling them in on the mission then, just as they're getting in the helicopter. Telling them who this guy is, who they're up against, and then it's like, right, you ready to go? Let's go! And they all sprint to the helicopter, and then they just stand outside. They're getting in one at a time. Yeah. Right, there's no need to run then, is there? This whole sequence, you've got submersibles, you've got people jumping out of helicopters into the water, you've got scuba gear going on. Goodspeed doesn't know how to use it, nobody's bothered. All of this stuff happens, and then you've got that great, marvellous shot, which is like Apocalypse Now-esque, where they just pop about the water, and it's got the guns. It's like, yeah, that looks ace. And then every single kind of apply for the army advert has used that since. It's just been like, we're so cool, yeah, be like us. It's like, no, I'm fine, thanks. And now we've got Mason telling them that he's just going to roll through this inferno of this incinerator because he's memorized it 32 years ago or some shit. I hope it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
What if it has? Why is it on? What's it heating?
It on, yeah.
Is there a boiler room like this? Why is it turned into Man with the Iron Mask all of a sudden? Why is it? And he goes underneath it, and then you get cut back, door opens, and there's that shot of Nicolas Cage, and he's just stood there, and the camera goes zoom into Cage, and then sweeps around the whole room to the door, and then sweeps into the door, and he comes in. It's welcome to the Rock. Da, 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 da. Absolutely amazing. It's so brilliantly done. It's so over the top. Nothing about this film is subtle, and especially nothing about this introduction of getting into the Rock. It's like, this is serious, guys. This is real serious stuff. Take it seriously, please. You haven't got a choice.
Yeah. I mean, they first get to the island and they don't know how to actually get into the prison, so not the most well-planned Navy
There's just
SEAL
a hole in the
operation.
grate. Is that where Mason got out? Because that's never mentioned. We'll just go through there. Fine.
Exactly, yeah. And that flame trap thing, yeah, it is pretty ludicrous. Just been there for 30 years, still firing flame jets at the same intervals.
Yeah, let the end of Space Hunter.
I think something of the Crystal Maze, like Richard O'Brien in the corner with a harmonica or something.
Yeah, Mumsy, imagine him coming in. Mumsy, you've been locked in.
But the sequence as a whole, for what Bay is going for, I think it is well executed. The seal's underwater approach looks cool, and just the look of the underbelly of Alcatraz, it's all steam and rust. I think the cinematography is great because it's claustrophobic and massive at the same time. And we start to get some little character moments between Goodspeed and Mason, on the chopper, where Mason calls him Godspell, and Stanley's like, it's Goodspeed, and Mason's just like, whatever.
Yeah, Godspell, Goodspeed, Godspell.
He barks at him like a dog for some reason. But laying some groundwork for the development of their arc into a double act later, and then Mason opening the door, welcome to the Rock.
Yeah.
That might be the most written for the trailer line I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, and his hat's back on and everything's fine and he looks perfect. He hasn't just rolled through an incinerator and he's absolutely fine.
And the seal's underwater approach to Alcatraz was a combination of practical effects. Most of the sequence was shot wet for wet in water tanks with real divers, mixed with miniature shots on motion control and some dry for wet stage work. Digital effects were then used to composite the different elements and add details like bubbles and lighting.
Yeah, they switched to that blue lighting for the night vision. That's pretty cool. DreamQuest Images were the effects studio, and Disney actually bought them out just before The Rock came out. So I think they must have been really impressed with what they did on the film.
Nice. To film the moment that the seals emerged from the water into the boiler room one by one, Bay said he'd been studying classic Busby Berkeley musicals and how Berkeley staged big reveals of dancers rising out of the water. He noticed Berkeley would start with a wide shot and then move into a mid shot and then a close-up as dancers broke the surface. That's normal, Michael. That's normal coverage. He's like, fucking hell, you don't go from a wide to an extreme close-up immediately in 2 seconds. No, Michael, that's how you do it. He used the same progression on the seal's surface in here, so this is probably why this is the only part of the film that you think, this is quite calm, and I understand this.
Yeah. A Footlight Parade from 1933, that's that famous Busby Berkeley water ballet sequence, so presumably he's referring to that.
Footlight Parade.
Fucking astonished to go from a wide to a mid and then a close-up. Wow.
Berkeley was a genius.
How did he do that?
But the underwater shots of all their mini-subs, I like all that as well. And then, that shot is like Apocalypse Now, where you see the water break over their heads. It's really cool, that.
Yeah. There were 2 scenes that required Connery and Cage to be underwater. This one and one later when Hummel's men detonate explosives in the sewer. And Cage said Connery wasn't happy about either of them. Connery told Bay he wanted the water heated up because it was too cold. And when they were filming the moment Mason rolls through the flames, Connery yelled at Bay on set, "So you tell me I could burn my face off?"
Yeah, Bay called Connery the director eater. He hates directors, he said.
Right.
Also, apparently in this scene, on the set, Cage improvised Goodspeed doing some, kind of pratfall as the seals all rise from the depths, but it was cut out.
Good.
I mean, obviously, Bay is taking this as serious as a heart attack. He doesn't want Norman Wisdom knocking about.
Mr. Pitkin. So we're led through. We've been introduced to these motion sensors. It gets tripped. I love the little thing that comes through the drain and it's got that kind
cool,
of...
yeah.
I was like, this is really Aliens now.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And we might as well have just seen them crawling on the roof. And then all climbing into the shower. And this bit is just the majesty of coverage. It's so intense and remarkable, really. This is the most music video sequence in this whole film from start to finish. You can put anything over the top as long as it's exactly the same duration and it will work. It's really well shot and really well executed. The camera is on exactly the right angle every single cut, but it's just that tension that's built. It's tension between Bean and Harris and them two going at each other. I cannot give that order. You have to stand down. I can't give that order. You're surrounded by an elevated position. Bang, 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 bang. And they both have the same beliefs. And Bean's delivery is fantastic here.
Yeah, it is really good.
Foreign, sir, and domestic.
Yeah.
And he's just looking up and he knows he's done for. That rock falls, the rock in the rock. Lovely, that. Very subtle, very nice. I love that. All hell just breaks loose. But it is really, really good. And it is the brilliant end of Act 1, even though we've only got an hour of the film left. It feels like...
Yeah. It's like the midpoint, isn't it?
That's Act 1 finished. But in a normal narrative, this would be the end of Act 1, where they're all wiped out. We're right in the middle of the confrontation. And then we'll go into the resolution. But this is actually now working towards the resolution. So it's really strange. But it's an excellent power move. It's great from the script. It's great from the writing. It's great from the direction because you really feel the emotion here. You really feel all the hits. It's so well done. And you think, how are they going to get out of this? And it's the first time you sit forward in your seat and go, right, I'm engaged in the story now, not just everything that's happening around that. So it's a great move from Bay and a really great scene.
Yeah, the most famous action scene in the film, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
And yeah, I think it's the best one. Michael Biehn gets his big moment as Commander Anderson, and he is really good. I love the standoff between him and Hummel. Loads of yelling, obviously.
Yeah.
But where Hummel tells Anderson order is meant to stand down, and Anderson's like, we spilled the same blood and the same mud, and you know goddamn well I can't give that order. Massive that.
Yeah.
I like it as well when Anderson addresses Hummel's men, and he's like, you're under oath, have you forgotten that? That has weight as well.
Yeah.
And Fry, one of Hummel's guys, is just like, let's waste these fuckers.
He's awful, him.
So much for Band of Brothers. I think Hummel might have got the wrong guys in.
This mission, don't get people you haven't worked with before.
Exactly.
That's really bad, isn't it? I don't know who these guys are, but it's probably the biggest thing I'm ever going to do. I didn't even tell me fucking ex-wife about this.
But then the shootout, it's loud, chaotic, dramatic score, slow motion, it's massive. But it's a big narrative beat as well, because now Goodspeed's basically left alone with Mason, and we don't really know what side he's on yet, totally. So it's well placed in the structure of the film. The only thing, I do think it might be better if some of the Marines survived and then get picked off as we go. Like Aliens, two of the best bits are Hudson and Vasquez's final moments.
Yeah.
So that might have worked well with Anderson. You always were an asshole Mason or something.
Would have been fantastic. We just haven't got the time, unfortunately. But he got an hour left.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is classic Bay. It shows he's got some real action filmmaking chops. There's not too many, I don't think, that would execute this better than he does.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it really works because you need at some point to establish Goodspeed and Mason as the only people left there. So the SEAL team needs to be wiped out quickly, and obviously this is the worst place to use as an entry point. It's set up really well. The motion sensors, it's an elevated position, but it's just that great button of heads between Hummel and Anderson, because neither of them is going to give an inch, neither is going to back down. As we've seen that great line about enemies, foreign and domestic, and you do think, yeah, is Hummel going to go through this? And you can see, maybe the slightest inkling of doubt behind his eyes. So that's a great bit of tension. It's obviously a bit convenient then that someone panics and starts shooting, so Hummel doesn't have to go through with it. But for a necessary plot point, it's pulled off really, really well.
Yeah, I think it is. What about Shep? Lieutenant Shepard, played by Danny Nucci. He gets that really weird monologue in the briefing where he recites the mission to Goodspeed, like word for word, super fast.
Yeah.
And then just dead, upside down in the sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that moment, it's like, don't go, and you think he's going to be with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, throughout, but
Yeah.
he's straight out of there. Well, that means Goodspeed gets a gun, so that sets that up.
Yeah.
That whole character just so we can get a gun. Crazy, this.
So, as we know, Michael Biehn was cast as Commander Charles Anderson, and he'd played Navy SEALs twice in recent years in The Abyss and Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Yeah, by 1995, Michael Bihn's face was like shorthand for like elite forces military man.
Yeah.
No audition needed.
No.
I mean, he is basically Hicks, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, fine by me, obviously.
Didn't they use his face on the cover of the artwork for Metal Gear Solid, the original game? I'm sure it was a shot of Hicks and they just changed the uniform.
I've not heard that before, but it looks exactly like him, so you're probably right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I might Google that after this and have a look, but I think it is.
And Biehn said that he'll always defend Michael Bay as a filmmaker after working with him on The Rock. Filming the shower shootout felt like it was nothing on set, and was then shocked when he saw how spectacular the final thing was.
Right.
I mean, the stuff's definitely over the top and too illogical for me a lot of the time, but it's clear that Bay can shoot action really well. It's there time and again in his films.
Oh, yeah.
And Biehn also said when he first came to shoot Anderson's standoff with Hummel, he froze and forgot all his lines, and suddenly Bay started screaming his lines at him off camera, and Biehn just repeated them, and some of those takes, they've made the final cut.
Right.
Yeah, there was some real SEALs on set, like Harry Humphreys, who we mentioned, and Biehn said that that's what made him freeze, doing it in front of the like real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would, wouldn't it?
It would do.
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
Yeah.
So that's the team in, the SEALs out, and our two unlikely heroes left to take Alcatraz on their own. Are they up to the task, we think?
Let's see.
Yeah.
So with the SEALs gone, Mason and Goodspeed are alone in the bowels of Alcatraz. More chaos ensues, obviously. The duo are caught and locked up by Hummel, but not before they go through an all-action flame trap and minecart sequence, and Goodspeed comes across the VX rockets for the first time. Wes, do you fancy picking the bones out of all that?
Not really. I mean, it used to be a civil war fort, right? That's the only backstory we've got of Alcatraz. That's injected into there. Does that mean that it was also built by a thuggee cult in the 30s? And there's minecarts everywhere. I don't understand what that is. But again, we've got another exhausting sequence here, but one that's filled with past exposition that pays off. So we've got these great moments where Goodspeed and Mason are going down and they're flying down on top of that wooden, it's not really a minecart, but it's on the rails, right? So they're going down, they fall onto the same thing. I'm too old for this. Brilliant. Get that in there. We all love that. Goodspeed grabs it, manages to get in. Mason's upside down. Oh, right, that's going to be a problem because Mason knows what he's doing. Goodspeed doesn't. The baddies are coming for them. Oh, my God, what we're going to do. But again, it's just ludicrous. And so entertaining, though, because you could strip this down and go, this makes no sense. It's pretty pointless. It's overlong. But I fucking think it's great. Like, it's just so engaging. Like, Cage getting in there, like, you know for a fact that's fucking bulletproof. You know for a fact it is. You know for a fact if a grenade goes in there, he's just going to pick it up and throw it, and it's going to be right where the bad guys are, and they're going to have to dive out the way of the explosion. And you know, because you're there on your side, they're like, it's like watching your family succeed. It's like watching your best friends do something really good. And then we get that great moment where Goodspeed then becomes who he needs to be, and him and Mason really bond, and you have Cage becoming the action star and firing and actually swearing, but the gunfire masks the F word that he says when it's like motherfucker, and it's just blah, 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 and it's just, that's really cleverly done. That's nice, but there's not enough moments like that. You've got to give it to Bay, haven't you? Because not at one point he doesn't ever doubt himself, thinking, actually, I don't know if this is a little bit self-indulgent. I might have gone a bit too far with this. He's always like, I haven't gone far enough. Fucking more slow motion. This is not enough. And this is one of them sequences where you just go, this could have been a real build on characters. None of that. I'm too old for this shit. Set them on fire. Now we're off.
Yeah, I mean, Mason and Goodspeed are by themselves. Hummel's men turn up for a shootout, and they just turn into, like, killing machines. Mason kills 2 soldiers just like that. One by dropping the air conditioning on his head.
Yeah.
But then the minecart sequence, I mean, yeah, is there a minecart system under Alcatraz? No, there's not. But who cares? Because Mason now foxes that Marine on the tracks, which is cool. And then Goodspeed takes someone out as well. It's the first time he's killed someone. And he shoots the guy shouting, die, die, die. What an arc that is.
Die, motherfucker, die.
And then they get the warhead bay. I'm not entirely sure why the rockets have been left totally alone. The Marines are on a tea break, presumably.
Yeah.
But this is where Goodspeed does finally take control, and he starts getting Mason tools, so his arc's developing.
Yeah.
That's all done pretty well. I mean, there's plot holes, but Bay is tearing us through it all at such a speed that it's like, hang on, was that a plot hole? I'm not sure. What's going on? And hey, it's fun, isn't it?
Exactly. You haven't got time to think. You just have to forget it straight away and move on.
That's for sure.
Yeah. The minecart scene was initially meant to be a big chase with carts hanging from the ceiling track as opposed to one on traditional rails. But Bay said they ran out of money. No shit. So it was stripped right back. This was stripped back. Imagine. God. So we still see a leftover from that idea when Goodspeed lands in a cart hanging down from the ceiling. So it should have been a race with like more of those, which would have been, again, crazy.
When they're shooting down the tracks, hints of Temple of Doom, maybe?
Just a bit, yeah.
I mean, not as good, obviously. There's no short round being pulled between the carts. That's what it's missing.
No.
Shouting water. Yeah.
So after this bit of insanity, they're captured, and you just get this great couple of minutes where everyone gets to take a breath for a little bit. And it's this nice little character moment for Goodspeed and Mason when they've been locked into the cells. I mean, I don't quite know why they're not under armed guard, considering who they are.
And the fact he's already said that he's broken out before.
Exactly, yeah. And they've seemingly been put in cells nowhere near anyone else, like the rest of the hostages, or where they can be kept an eye on. They're just completely, now just stick them way over there. Anyone to keep an eye on them? No, that's fine. I'm sure they won't do anything.
Actually, maybe he is James Bond.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, you know, we'll skip over that as quickly as the film does. But it's wonderful because you just get Cage riffing on the dialogue here when Goodspeed is just reflecting on all the verbal threats he's had to put up with. I'll take pleasure in gutting you, boy. I mean, it's just pure Nick Cage. And just how he takes offense at these guys and just riffs on that. You know, he's like, there's a lot of angst, a lot of, I'm 16, I'm angry at my father syndrome. I mean, grow up. It's the type of dialogue that Cage just revels in. All of it's really funny, particularly when you get that contrast to Mason, who's just quietly making himself useful in his cell, tearing the strips off the blanket, getting himself out of there. Very funny, but, you know, a bit of exposition as well. We fill in the blanks of Mason's character, what exactly he did to get himself put away, which sets up the ending when they have to say goodbye, which we'll get to. But it's all about just Cage and Connery getting this one moment where there's nothing insane going on and they can just riff off each other, and it's really, really funny.
Yeah, I love the transition into the cell where Goodspeed's repeating what the Marine just said to him, where he's going, I'll take pleasure in gutting you, boy.
Yeah.
And then Cage just goes into craziness overdrive. He's like, shame on them. And then the Zeus's butthole line, he's just lost the plot.
Yeah.
But what works is how the dynamic between Mason and Goodspeed's starting to change. They're now working as a team. Mason saves Goodspeed's life around this time as well, when the Marine's got a gun to his head. And the chemistry between Cage and Connery is there, as it has been since the start. It's really good. So it's a key scene in terms of their relationship. And I think it's a good example that no matter how over the top everything gets, the actual narrative structure of the film at its core is pretty solid. Rock solid, if you like.
Wow.
Lovely.
Nicolas Cage wrote his own dialogue for the scene where the Marine has a gun to the back of Goodspeed's head. He had his lines put onto cue cards. Bay told him cards weren't allowed until Cage said he'd been doing it for years. Bay allowed it, but said you can see Cage reading the cards in the scene, which you can.
Marlon Brando for Cage. Yeah. Wonder if he had someone write Zeus's butthole on a card for him.
Yeah, probably.
And that's the middle of the Rock. One SEAL team is gone, our two heroes have been cooked, blown up, locked up and escaped, and now they're loose on the island with one job: stop those rockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sense more mayhem.
Of course you do.
Has to be.
The crew.
Michael Bay had a huge team behind him on The Rock with high-end talent across the board. We're going to be talking about Hans Zimmer and Nick Glennie Smith as composer and John Schwartzman's director of photography, but where else can we start with a film that had so many writers attached than with the screenplay?
Yeah. Okay.
So the credited screenwriters on The Rock are David Weisberg, Douglas S. Cook and Mark Rosner. Weisberg and Cook were a writing team, and their credits prior to The Rock were a 1991 telefilm called Payoff and the 1994 comedy Holy Matrimony.
Right.
Mark Rosner came from television. He had 6 TV writing credits with no feature credits before this, and none since.
Right.
So an eclectic writing team on this one, Matt.
Yep.
And that's just a tip of the iceberg, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But how's the writing on The Rock?
I mean, it's fair to say this genre, the bar for writing tends to be fairly low.
Yeah.
And I think that's true with The Rock. But there are elements where it is better than it should be, really, because the concept itself is good and it's an instant hook. Taking off Alcatraz, poison gas missiles, brilliant. Hummel's motivations make sense, and like I said, with House's performance, a lot more interesting than the usual bad guy, and his eventual U-turn on his plan, that's also believable because it's seeded in advance. That works. Goodspeed being along for the mission makes sense. Needing Mason's help makes sense. Both their characters are believable in this genre, and you get a decent amount of backstory with Mason. You see his antagonism in history with Womack. That helps make his character more interesting. And Goodspeed and Mason make for good team up. Each one has strengths that the other doesn't, so that works well. And the dialogue is quotable throughout, so I'm not going to go overboard here. Look, this is basic stuff.
I was going to say calm down.
But considering how many films of this type don't even get the basics right, this one should at least get credit for doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, where to start with the writing on The Rock? Like the dialogue. We've talked about it a bit. It's essentially zinger after zinger. Not all of it works, but some of it does. There's some famous lines, like we've said. But the non-zinger dialogue could have done with a brush-up, maybe. There's some slightly clumsy lines. At one point, Hummel says to his troops, "Man your positions, men," which doesn't sound right. And there's an exposition scene early on as well between Womack and the Chief Justice, played by Philip Baker Hall, where they're talking about how dangerous Mason is. They might as well just look into the camera and be reading from a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
But they're not bothered about that, I don't think. The only time they're ever interested in a dialogue beyond being functional is when they're getting the one-liners in. And there's plenty of those.
Yeah.
I think where the writers do deserve credit is the narrative, because the story they've came up with on a high level, it works really well. The concept's good, the plot points are good, the character decisions have consequences, and the peril is ramped up constantly as we go. And one of the things that makes it interesting now, I think, is that this is very much that 90s style of masculinity. Loads of angry guys. The only scenes where people aren't shouting at each other are the ones where there's a woman in them.
Yeah.
And there's only about 4 of those. So
Fair enough.
tonally, it's a bit of its time. Like, we grew up in the world that birthed The Rock, so no wonder we're all a bit mad.
Yeah.
But as an action film script, it gives Bay the platform that he needs to go and do what he does.
Yeah.
Because the structure's solid, baking out all of his chaos on the top, and it doesn't just become a free-for-all. And I think that's what it needed, really. So a pretty good example of 90s action film writing, I think.
Yeah, it's 90s action film writing, but it's also 80s action film writing, just stepped up a little bit. It feels like about 10 80s action films put together with all the good bits and polish the end off, and we don't need that and have that and have that. I'm astonished there's even a story in this film. I am astonished. It's more about how is this going to look good. How is this going to make you feel, as opposed to how is it going to make the characters feel? How is it going to make the film? How is it going to make the story play out? And to me, it's just a lesson of how do we get from A to B to C in an entertaining way.
Yeah.
In a way that, yes, there's exposition, yes, there's backstory, yes, there's characters, but them characters are going to do cool things, and them cool things are going to explode, and them explosions are going to make you punch the sky and leave the cinema feeling good. It feels like the editing, it feels like the writing is just being edited the same way the film has. You've got 6 cameras, you've got 10 cameras on this, pick all the best angles, and it's going to work, and that's how I feel about the writers.
Well, the story of the writing of The Rock is as action-packed as you might expect from a Michael Bay film.
Yeah.
Loads of writers came and went, some big names as well. Mm-hmm. It's a story all of its own. So, Matt, you want to pick it up for us?
Certainly will. So,
Nice.
David Weisberg and Douglas S. Cook were schoolmates who had aspirations to be screenwriters. And they had sold a spec script for Holy Matrimony, which we've mentioned, when they had the idea for what they called Die Hard on Alcatraz. They wrote a spec script called The Rock, sent it around Hollywood studios, and in 1994, Disney bought it.
So, Holy Matrimony, we've mentioned it twice for some reason.
Yeah.
Do you know who directed that?
I
No,
don't.
go on then.
It was Nimoy, Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, wow.
So,
Right. Okay.
check that out.
Yeah.
3 Men and the Baby.
Yeah. But Die Hard or Something, the most common elevator pitch of the 90s, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But when Michael Bay came in as director, one of his conditions was that the script needed rewrites. He said it was too technical and needed more punch. So Simpson and Bruckheimer hired Mark Rosner, a TV writer veteran, for the first rewrite. Bay said Rosner's script was far too straight and in the style of Crimson Tide, also by Simpson and Bruckheimer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that sounds like the version that I want to see,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But I've looked into this and I can't find a single link between Mark Rosner and anyone in this production. So I've no idea why he was hired.
Right.
Maybe they just put some names in the hat, drew
Yeah.
someone out.
TV before, then disappears after, like Mason. Vaporized.
He did, though, write one episode of V, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd hire him as well.
Right.
But Bay still wasn't happy, so he brought in Jonathan Hensley to write a new draft. Hensley had just written Die Hard with a Vengeance and Jumanji and worked with Bay on the script for about 9 months. He added the opening facility raid, ramped up the military speak, and did a lot of work on fleshing out Hummel, like adding his backstory in the cemetery scene.
Yeah, so he did quite a lot of good stuff on there. And Jonathan Hensley said that his brief was really simple. He was told, turn it into a Michael Bay movie.
Right.
He nailed it, to be fair, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Sean Connery came on board. And one of the demands he made before accepting the part of Mason was that the character went through rewrites and he knew exactly who he wanted to bring in. He'd worked with Dick Clement and Ian Lafreniere on Never Say Never Again, so they were brought in.
Now, this is pretty interesting because in their memoirs, Dick Clement and Ian Lafreniere talk about The Rock, and they say when they were briefed, they were specifically told, they don't say by who, Connery or Bay, but they were told, make Mason more like Bond.
Right.
That's what they were told.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah, so I'm Stanley Goodspeed, well, of course you are. That was added by them.
Right. That makes sense.
So that, it is getting a bit more towards that then.
Yeah.
That's it though.
Yeah, that's about it.
But be careful because the lawyers are watching. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was still more to come. Late in pre-production, it was decided the dialogue needed more work, and Aaron Sorkin was hired for what he called a production polish, and he spent 2 weeks punching up the dialogue.
Yeah, so Anderson's line, same blood in the same mud, you know goddamn well I can't give that order. That was Sorkin, apparently. Of course it was.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah.
And there's also been reports for years that at the same time Sorkin was working on the script, it was also given to Quentin Tarantino to look at, specifically action sequences and the narrative structure.
I'm surprised it didn't all become non-linear then. Move
Yeah.
the end of the start and the start of the middle.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Just seems like it.
There's a Mexican standoff in there, so I'm pretty sure Tarantino got a hold of that.
Well, he did rewrites on Crimson Tide as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Obviously why they got him in here.
Silver Surfer stuff, yeah.
Yeah, no Silver Surfer here, unfortunately.
No.
With all the writers who worked on the script, the WGA had their work cut out in attributing official credits. They decided Weisberg and Cook would get credit as writers of the original spec script and credited Mark Rosner, who had rewritten their draft. Bay was furious that Jonathan Hensley didn't get any credit and wrote an open letter in the LA Times in protest. He said that Weisberg and Cook came up with the idea, but Hensley wrote the film that he ended up making.
Yeah, he called it a sham.
Right.
Hensley wasn't happy either. He said it was the worst thing that's ever happened in my writing career.
Wow.
Yeah, but the WGA's rules are that you have to be considered to have contributed to 50% of the script to get a writing credit.
Okay.
Yeah. But Hensley got some rewards, though, because Bay hired him again to co-write Armageddon.
Okay, great.
Well, for their work on The Rock, no Oscars recognition for Weisberg, Cook, Rosner, and certainly not Hensley. But for us, the credited and uncredited writers between them somehow build something that does work well as what it is.
Somehow.
From the chaos of the writing, we're now moving on to the music, and the score for The Rock was written by Hans Zimmer and Nick Glennie Smith. Glennie Smith was a British keyboardist and conductor who had been Zimmer's right-hand man for years, with a co-credit on Point of No Return and one solo composing credit on Two If by Sea. Hans Zimmer needs little introduction, of course. By 1996, The Rock was his 55th feature film credit, with previous highlights including Rain Man, Thelma and Louise, True Romance, The Lion King. So Glennie Smith and Zimmer together again at last, Matt. How was the score on The Rock?
I mean, I think this is where Team America got all their ideas from. It's very much America for like nearly 2 hours.
I'd love to hear that in The Rock.
It would not be out of place, that's the thing. You could absolutely drop it in. Because it's not subtle. It doesn't have anything on its agenda other than make you feel something. If it needs to make you feel pumped up, it's going to make you feel really pumped up. If it's got to make you worry at the end that Goodspeed is going to die, it's going to layer that emotion on really, really thick. So it works, but it works in the same way that a sledgehammer to the face works. It just has an impact, and that's all it needs. Like, I can't actually think of any tune from the soundtrack, because that's not what they're going for. It's just bam, feel this emotion, feel this. Does the job?
It does. I mean, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
That main theme, 2 chords, like ostinato style, that is like classic 90s action movie music.
It's very much like Speed, isn't it?
Yeah. All choirs and brass with an electric guitar over the top. And it does complement the film Bay's made really well. But also, it might not seem like it too much, but there is some restraint, because the character moments, like Mason and Jade or Goodspeed and Carla, the music's much quieter there, much more melodic and kind of melancholic at times.
Yeah.
So Zimmer and Glennie Smith are not just hammering us over the head for 2 hours, 16 minutes. There is some more dynamic work, which is what you get with Zimmer, obviously. But also in terms of the audio, the sound design is enormous. It's all the way through, obviously, but right at the start, when Hummel calls the Pentagon to make his demands, at the end he says, "This is General Hummel, out," slams the phone down, and the sound design they've added is like a bomb going off.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So the audio here does do some heavy lifting. I mean, is it Hans Zimmer's greatest score? No, obviously not. No. It's not close to his best work, but it is certainly a big contribution, I think, to what Bay's creating.
I honestly feel this is more a Glennie Smith score, with Hans Zimmer just kind of helping him out a bit, because I don't see much Zimmer in there. But if you look at what Glennie Smith does, especially like We Were Soldiers and Man in the Iron Mask, I think it's got them real sweeping emotional themes to them. I mean, the shower scene that we've talked about, that whole music and over the top of that is so melancholic, but so sweeping and so emotional, and just absolutely drags you in. And they are not memorable, but what he does is they really slow the music so it doesn't cut as fast as the film does, so you can flow a little bit more. It's just, there's not as many changes in the music. They keep it simple, they keep it pumping, but they say that it's like it's every 4 bars the music will cut, but it's every 16 bars the film will cut. So you've got room to kind of gather your thoughts a little bit, and the music needs to be bombastic. It needs to be huge so that they can make the machine guns louder, so they can make the action bigger, so they can make the explosions louder. So everything is just ramped up in the mix and given their own space. Like I say, I wish it was memorable. I wish it did have one theme, but I think there's just so much going on in The Rock. It needs so much variety in the score to match what's happening on the screen.
Yeah, it's like all the sounds are competing with each other to be heard, aren't they?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put a machine gun in there, but we'll put a timpani drum in there. Well, fucking hell. We'll put a gong in there.
So as we've been saying, Nick Glennie Smith was a British keyboardist and conductor who'd been Zimmer's right-hand man for years, conducting the likes of The Lion King and Crimson Tide. Zimmer said he was actually feeling burned out at the time, so when he was approached to score The Rock, he put forward a Glennie Smith instead.
Yeah, he started in pop music, like Glennie Smith. He was on McCartney albums, like worked with Phil Collins, Tina Turner, loads of people.
Right.
He was Hans Zimmer's kind of protege, really, because he wanted to get into film scoring.
Right.
And there were differing reports to what happened, but apparently Glennie Smith put forward 3 different pieces as options for the main theme for the music, and all of them were rejected. Zimmer was then brought back to write the main theme, which got approved, and Harry Gregson Williams, another protege of Zimmer, he was brought in to help out as well, and he scored the car chase and some other cues.
Right.
So it seems like a pretty collaborative effort by the end.
Yeah.
And it seems like there were some pretty big issues, because I saw an interview with Harry Gregson Williams where he called Michael Bay the most odious director alive.
Wow. Odious. What a great word. I'm taking that.
Yeah. But the main theme, not Zimmer's best, but kind of gives you there's a point to work from, I guess was the idea.
Yeah, he sets the bar, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's setting the style, and they kind of roll it out from there.
Bay had some classic pop songs licensed for the soundtrack too. There was San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Flowers in Your Hair by Scott McKenzie, which we hear on the soundtrack. And then when Mason sings it in the shower, which is fantastic. Rocket Man by Elton John, plays during Goodspeed and Carla's sex scene. And we also hear Leaving on a Jet Plane by Frank Sinatra and A World Without Love by Peter and Gordon.
Connery singing San Francisco in the shower is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, I cannot remember any of those pop songs being on the soundtrack.
Well, some interesting things in the pop music, because Rocket Man gets a call back later. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But also at the start, we mentioned that Goodspeed calls himself a Beatlemaniac, has an original pressing of Meet the Beatles, but they couldn't get the Beatles music license for the film, so that Peter and Gordon song, that was written by Lennon and McCartney.
Right.
Closest they could get.
Wow, okay.
Okay.
It's clutching at straws, isn't it?
Just get the frog chorus in.
Yeah,
surely.
of course. Why not? Yeah.
For their work on The Rock, no Oscars recognition for Zimmer or Glennie Smith. Gabrielle Yared won for The English Patient.
Right.
Right.
However, Kevin O'Connell, Greg P. Russell and Keith A. Wester were nominated for Best Sound. They also lost to The English Patient.
Yeah, big one that year, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
But the score specifically, a huge piece of action music which does what Bay needs from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Yeah.
100% what it is.
We're finishing the crew section by looking at the visuals on The Rock and the director of photography in John Schwartzman. This was Schwartzman's 8th feature film and first big-budget actioner. Previous credits include comedy musical Rockula, comedy drama Benny and June, and Airheads. Remember that?
Airheads,
I
yeah,
do
great
remember
film.
Airheads, yeah.
Not the perfect filmography for The Rock, maybe Westy, but
Maybe not.
how was John Schwartzman as DP?
What John Schwartzman does here is defines the visual language of Bayhem. This is the first Michael Bay film that was shot widescreen. It's the first one that was shot in super 35mm spherical. It was the first one he went, I am making this for a cinema screen, and I'm going to make it look like a Michael Bay film. Bad Boys wasn't a million miles away from this, but it just definitely was a little bit more reserved visually, if you believe that. But if you watch this one, it is just the extreme coverage that he does here. And the technical decisions, I think, that Schwartzman makes alongside Bay. I think Bay is very much into this with Schwartzman, and they're working together on it. And I think what I get from the cinematography is some of it's beautiful, some of it looks really good. The lighting choices are excellent. It's all very much flamboyance. It's all very much, this visual language. It's like fireworks. Every scene to me is like either fireworks are going to go off or they have gone off, and we've just get the little bit in the sky of the remnants of them. So there's always that ticking. I mean, from the shower scene alone, there was a 5-camera setup on that, which I would imagine that whole shootout would have been maybe about 30 seconds, just squibs going off, coverage.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
going to fall in. We'll get a camera at the top, we'll get 2 at the bottom, we'll get 1 covering Bean, we'll get 1 at the, here and there, just covering all the action, which is why Michael Bean would have turned around and said, that just seemed quite unremarkable.
Yeah, it ties in with what he said, yeah.
So we've got a steady cam, we've got handheld, we've got a mix of lenses from wide to tight. And the editing on this, I mean, the first AC on the A cam was a guy called Carl Owens, and I've got to give him credit here because he's keeping everything sharp and making sure that works. That's just the A camera. So we've got another 4 ACs here, making sure everything works and everything's sharp. And you've got stuff flying past the lens. You've got to make sure everything's right and everything's in focus. And everything is bang on here. And it absolutely works the way they've cut that together. And the editing is part of it all. But the cinematography, to me, does feel like they're taking a scene and doing almost like a 3D scan of it. We're going to get absolutely everything that's going to capture this 30 seconds. And then we're going to give it the editors, and then we're going to make a music video out of it. So we're going to go from an extreme wide shot on the floor to a massive close-up of the squib going off to this here. And they've got all that on 5 cameras. So they've got all of this footage and all of this coverage, especially the action sequences, which gives it a real music video aesthetic. It's like...
Yeah.
That probably kept it within the budget. And we can only do this once, but we can afford 5 cameras to cover it. And the fact that they do cover it in such a way that the 180-degree rule does not exist in this film, especially in the action sequence. It just doesn't. They do not give a shit. They don't care. And that's why people are watching it going, this is brand new. Michael Bay's full film is the shower scene from Psycho.
Yeah.
It's just right close, and that's how he does it. And then puts an emotional sweep over the top, then adds some slow motion to slow it down in the middle. And that's what Schwartzman gives him, all of that. And boy, does he give him the coverage. But Schwartzman had a lot to do here. If it wasn't for John Schwartzman, you would not have that look that you've got today that's over so many films. It's influenced so much action cinema because him and Bay invented it, but he needs to be up there with Bay for the visual language of this film.
Yeah, well, Bay has a reputation for being like a busy director, like with multiple cameras, lots of movement on the screen, loads of cuts in the edit.
Yeah.
Which brings a pretty specific challenge for a DP, I think, because it's not necessarily about making things look beautiful. It's often about making something crystal clear when it's on the screen because the audience might not get long to look at it.
Yeah.
So Schwartzman has quite a functional DP job in some ways. I think he does that really well because we have the car chase, the Marines approaching Alcatraz, the shower room shootout, all in quick succession. There's a lot of big spectacular moments. He needs to communicate all of them visually, and we never get lost, I don't think. That's kind of John Schwartzman doing his job. There is some creativity too, though, because I think there seems to be 4 different looks through the film. The San Francisco scenes have that slick 90s action look, fairly generic, but that's kind of what he needs. The Alcatraz interiors are all like steam and seem to be yellows and ambers. Makes it feel really hot when we're in there. And then the tunnels under the prison are more industrial with like blacks and blues in the lighting. The colour palette reminds me of Aliens, which I don't think is a coincidence.
No.
And the Pentagon and the White House scenes are very clean, almost flat looking in how they're lit to make those places look mundane in comparison to the main story, I presume.
Yeah.
So there is some variation as we go through the narrative, which works really well. It always feels pretty fresh to look at, but then he is obviously shooting action, and Bay wants it frantic. The camera seems to shake quite a lot. Loads of close-ups of people shouting. I think they use the classic Spielberg pushing here more than Spielberg does. It's on every single scene.
Yeah,
on some of those close-ups of Ed Harris, apparently the camera was 11 inches from his face.
I'm not surprised, yeah.
Right in there.
The one who was furious.
No, I don't think there's any zoom lenses used on this. You don't necessarily get a crash zoom away from the action. You are in the action. Which, I mean, this film, over many others, reminds me of a Tony Scott film. It's very much a Tony Scott film. And, you know, you've got Simpson and Bruckheimer producing as they did on Top Gun. And this feels like Top Gun, but on ecstasy. I think Tony Scott would have watched this and just went, fuck me, I need to buy 4 more cameras.
You can see why Simpson and Bruckheimer were drawn to Michael Bay.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah.
So it's not the most beautiful thing you'll ever see, but in creating the look for all the Bayhem, I think Schwartzman's work is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
There's a quote from him about The Rock, which I like. He said, "Our approach was to take an image and attack it." And they certainly did that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beat the hell out of it.
Exactly. Take a photograph and cut it up into 16 bits and then edit it together in 1 second intervals.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot on his hands here. He's got a lot to do. He's got to keep up with Michael Bay, the pace that he wants to inject into this, the broad emotion that he wants to fill the film with, filming on an actual location, which wasn't easy, making it coherent with the sets that they then built. And I don't imagine you'd have too much input here because Michael Bay knows exactly what he wants, which is make things look cool. Make those shadows look really deep and not too dark that you can't see the fight going on in them. Make the explosions look massive. So for me, it's very similar to the soundtrack. It's not about being subtle. I mean, the sex scene between Goodspeed and his wife, I mean, how many candles have been lit there on top of that? They're suddenly left at the door. But it is absolutely job done because it just nails the aesthetic. As Wesley says, we're just so used to these days.
Yeah, for sure.
The Rock was the first time Michael Bay and John Schwartzman worked together on a film, but there was a previous relationship. Bay had went to school with Schwartzman's sister, and they both attended USC Film School together. And Schwartzman had shot the video for Meatloaf's Rock and Roll Dreams Come True, which Bay directed, and that was how they came to work together on The Rock. Fantastic.
Yeah, Bay must have only had the chops then.
That's a Meatloaf video.
Surely it wasn't Airheads that got him the gig. No. Also, John Schwartzman's stepmother was Talia Shire, so I think that means he's Nicolas Cage's cousin.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
that checks out, I think, doesn't it, Matt?
I think so. And Schwartzman said that the location shooting on Alcatraz caused problems. He said in most locations you'll have a golf cart or a forklift or something to move the equipment around. At Alcatraz, it all had to be done by hand. And he said all the cameras had to go down 6 flights of stairs and then a quarter mile around the island many times. He said it was such a physical shoot, he lost 7 pounds during filming.
Wow.
Yeah, he said just walking from the boat to where they would be shooting most days was the equivalent of climbing a 13-story building.
God, right.
With 6 cameras.
Yeah.
Exactly. So no wonder the film is so angry. The crew must have been constantly raging.
Yeah, exactly. They're probably thinking, though, right, we're moving all the cameras there, but we are definitely going to use everything we're carrying here.
Yeah, exactly. For his work on The Rock, no Oscars recognition for John Schwartzman. Winner that year was John Seal for,
English Patient.
of course, The English Patient. But on The Rock, some very classic 90s action DP work for us.
Very, very classic, yeah.
Invented something that nobody knew he invented, really.
The end.
It's the final act of The Rock, and we have our resolution. The climactic scenes where our heroes face off against the bad guys and prevent the missiles being fired are coming up. Before all that, though, Hummel's own men are about to turn on him.
Yeah.
So Hummel issues his final ultimatum and a missile gets fired heading for San Francisco. At the last second, Hummel diverts it and, in front of Fry, Darrow and the rest of his Marines, he announces the mission's over, which goes down like a bag of spanners.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Wesley, Hummel's plan's starting to come undone. Thoughts from you, please?
So we get Hummel launching the missile, and you actually think for a second, Jesus, he's done it? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
This is crazy. So someone's going to have to step up here, and you see Goodspeed jump up to the window. He sees it flying over, and it's just so great. The camera movements here are just everywhere. Vroom, sweep in. It's just, there's not one static shot in this whole sequence. And I love, when it cuts back to the control room and there's the guy looking at the coordinates on the screen. It's the same lighting as when the SEALs are getting into Alcatraz, but all the coordinates just on his face.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
highlighting his whole... It's just so unnecessary. Like, look at how much information I've got here, and I'm looking at it. It's just like, put all of the coordinates on his face. That's harder to do than to not do, and you don't need to do it.
Yeah.
It's just complete overkill. But that's really cool. There's some really cool shots in here. I think you can see it in Ed Harris. I love the fact that it's just a real extreme close-up on him and the thought processes going through his head. But there's this build of tension and the use of music in this scene just absolutely ramps it up. It should be really quiet, this scene. It should be like there's not a lot happening, there's not a lot of moving camera, and just a really slow... It's how I would have done it, and that's probably why I'm not Michael Bay. But just a really slow push on Ed Harris, just as he contemplates what he's going to do. There's just no room for subtlety here. Every time I watch this, I do think to myself, it would be quite nice, because I'm morbid like this, for it just to hit like a corner of San Francisco and we'll see a little bit of horror. Like we'll see some families and they're just like "Bah!" on the street, like and a RoboCop, and then cars hitting them and they're just exploding and stuff. I'd be like, that would be actually pretty sweet. But it keeps it completely safe. Not too much for Michael Bay even. But it's just a great moment where we think, right, what's going to happen to Hummel now? Is he going to be on their side? Are the three of them going to team up? Is what's going to happen here? But then we'll get the classic mutiny within the mutiny, which works beautifully.
Yeah, I think this whole missile scene is all executed really well. I love that shot of the missile flying over the 49ers football stadium. Great. And the parallel cuts to Hummel and his men and the radar team. That's all put together really well because it's exciting and it's tense, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. Yeah. I'm not totally sure how Darrow, played by Tony Todd, how he doesn't immediately realise it's Hummel who diverted the missile. No one else could have done it, and he's sitting there looking as guilty as a puppy dog.
Yeah.
But Major Tom knows, obviously. I like it when he kicks Darrow out. Like, Captain, step outside. His delivery's great.
It's really Candyman, though. He's really playing on the back there, the fact he was Candyman.
Yeah.
And he's terrifying. But he stood up. It would have been class just cutting and doing a smash push straight into Ed Harris, and he's just going... What's that? Sorry, I've no idea. Did it not hit? Oh, fuck, I've no clue.
And also, definitely a missed opportunity that nobody ever says ground control to Major Tom to Baxter.
That is a missed opportunity. Yeah.
It's huge.
So it's a bit of a classic narrative beat in this kind of film, I think, but I think they execute it really well.
Yeah, so following this, we get the payoff that's been building from the start, which is that Hummel was never going to launch, but he has kept that from the mercenaries. And I think just all the performances are really top draw in this scene. I mean, these mercenaries, they're foaming at the mouth to kill thousands of people. Where did Hummel find them from?
Exactly. I know.
Where?
Maniacs.
Yeah, but there's some good dialogue here as well. I think when Major Baxter says the government doesn't know they missed on purpose, Fry's like ultra sarcastic. Great. We're not gutless. We're incompetent. That works really well. And this is just where it all starts to fall apart. Baxter reminds him that talking to a general, maintain discipline, he's still a soldier. No, we're mercenaries. Mercenaries get paid. Tony Todd's really great. Ed Harris goes pure, unfiltered Ed Harris when he goes, "Stand down, Captain."
Brilliant, that, Matt.
And then the guns are drawn. I mean, it's a classic Mexican standoff. And even Baxter looks for 1 minute like he's going to betray Hummel here for them when you see it generally don't know which way he's going to go till he takes one of them out. So it's a real standout moment for me because to have the villains squabbling amongst themselves and Goodspeed and Mason just onlookers watching this whole thing fall apart, that's really effective. But as we've been saying, Hummel deserves a better ending than this. He could have played a bigger part
Yeah.
in ending this, and he's just shot and forgotten about, and that's disappointing.
Yeah.
A Reservoir Dogs influence with this standoff, do you think?
Feels like it, yeah.
Yeah. Then again, there was one in everything since Reservoir Dogs, though, wasn't there? Like every action film they were in there.
Well, that ends the same way, Reservoir Dogs, and Tarantino was massive in 1996 as well, so I think the influence might have been there. No shell suits in The Rock, but apart from that,
Imagine.
pretty much the same.
That would have been great.
Great piece of dialogue from Hummel when he's like, I'm not about to kill 80,000 innocent people. You think I'm out of my fucking mind? Superb delivery from Harris.
Yeah.
And that right there really is the end of Hummel's story as soon as he says that.
Yeah.
And Captain Fry, that's Gregory Spore later, he's a bit bloodthirsty. He's nuts.
I know,
Yeah, he's crazy.
Desperate to murder 80,000 people.
Frothing at the mouth. Yeah.
He is. Another great moment when Hummel's like, we bluffed, they called it, it's over. And Fry gets right in his face and he's like, who said anything about bluffing, General? That's great. I love it.
Yeah. In the original script, the shootout was different. At first, Major Baxter betrayed Hummel and shot him during the standoff. In this movie, he's bluffing and shoots Darrow instead, which I think is a great moment.
Everyone's bluffing.
Yeah.
Better the way to do it, surely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Much better.
Baxter's with Hummel till the end. The band of brothers is still intact. That's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that shot's when it all kicks off and Mason and Goodspeed steaming.
Yeah.
Something that confuses me, though, when Fry throws the grenade at Mason, why does Mason get in the bath?
Because it stops explosions. We've seen Lethal Weapon 2. We know exactly what's going on.
But the bath's got no cover on top of it.
It doesn't matter. It just stops explosions. Same as the mine cars, just completely bulletproof. It's fine. And I'm amazed that you said the only thing that confuses me.
The rest of it's perfectly logical.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Now, this is the perfect moment to bring in our final ATR and Patreon question, as it happens to be on the very thing we've just been discussing.
Okay.
The question is from Troy Gilbert.
Hello, Troy.
Hello, Troy.
So Troy's asking, who's the bad guy? I know the movie's not intended to be that deep, but all the major players are motivated by love of country or loyalty to those they've served with or a desire to protect others. Are they all bad guys, or is it the government and they're all just victims and pawns?
Yeah.
We're going deep on The Rock. Who'd have thought it? Over to you, Westy. Who's the villain here?
Coming to me first for some depth. I'll try and dig as far as I can into this rock. So I think Darrow and Fry, because they are bloodthirsty and they do want murder, but they have been trained by the government anyway to think that that's an okay thing to do and that's how you get results. So it's basically a commentary on the military. It goes back to the kind of the government's decisions about Vietnam. I think that's highlighted as well. They mentioned Vietnam a couple of times. But ultimately, I don't really think there is a bad guy here. I think it's just a conscience thing. And if you want to look for the real motivation for evil, it's money in the whole film. We want the money. That's what's going to work for us. You can't set foot back on your own soil, but we'll give you $1 million. So $1 million is enough to betray everything you believe in. So money is the real nasty element in this. And then with Goodspeed, what does he do with a lot of money? Buys Beatles records with it. So money's not important to the heroes. So ultimately, Michael Bay is saying money is evil. Don't buy into it. I guess that's what I get from it anyway.
Goodspeed should definitely have said money can't buy me love in that case at some point.
Oh, that would have been the end. Yeah, perfect.
It's strange because I think this who is the villain is the question the whole film kind of asks without having any interest whatsoever in answering it.
Perfect.
I'm not sure they even know they're asking the question, to be honest.
I don't think they do.
My take is that Hummel isn't a bad guy, but for a time he is the bad guy. He plays the role of the antagonist. He makes decisions that force the protagonist into action. Womack's kind of the opposite. He is a bad guy because he represents the government that screwed over Hummel's men. He holds Mason illegally without trial, and he goes back on his word to pardon Mason. But his role is on the side of the protagonists. So it's a really interesting setup. The film just isn't that bothered exploring it. Bay's more like, who's the villain? Get some squibs on, will you?
Exactly, yeah.
But then the new bad guys emerge, and these are bad guys in Fry and Darrow. They bought into the worst version of Hummel's plan, and they wanted to follow through on it and kill innocent people, so they were never in it for the dead Marines or the families. Darrow tells us, he's like, I want my fucking money.
Yeah.
And it's that classic thing where the villain dies, and then the good guy has a final showdown with his, like, lieutenant. Happens a lot in Bond films, where the final showdown often ends up being with the henchman rather than the villain himself. So more 007 stuff. But yeah, I think there's a much more complex antagonist, or like set of antagonists in this film than you normally get in this kind of thing. It's just a shame they don't deal with it, what I think they could have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when the SEALs die, ultimately that's what Hummel's against. He's done it again. These guys aren't going to be reported. They're on a secret mission. They're not going to know. Their deaths aren't going to be celebrated. Their wives aren't going to get anything, etc. It's happened again, but that's just not explored. That's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this does have a little more depth to it in terms of the villain doing what he's doing, but yeah, let's not go too overboard. It's not all the President's men we're talking about here. I'll say anything in here just feels accidental from the writers, if anything. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it is still someone who works for the government who saves the day, and Hummel puts the government in an uncomfortable spot, but that's only given lip service. I say it's not followed through. And the only ones who do want to go through with it are mercenaries, so you can't tie them to the government. So, although the film kind of criticises the government a little bit because it's forced Hummel into this situation, it pulls its punches because it doesn't really interrogate the after effects of that. You don't get a scene of saying, oh, Hummel is right, we can't let this happen again. It's just forgotten about.
Yeah.
So if the government's the enemy, it's only like a little tiny bit, and then there's explosions to be had, so we'll just focus on those instead.
So Hummel's killed, his own men have turned, and there's a couple of mutineers loose with rockets and a kill plan all of their own. Our heroes have got their work cut out for the climax.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
The finale of The Rock is where Goodspeed has to stop those rockets. After squaring off with Captain Darrow, then Captain Fry, he completes the mission before getting the green flares out to abort the airstrike, then letting Mason get away scot-free. A job well done.
Yes.
Right then, the climax, Westy, you kicking us off?
I am. We're going to the lighthouse. I love a lighthouse in a film.
Yeah.
I love a lighthouse in an action film because you know some bad shit's going to go down in the lighthouse. It's absolutely fantastic. So that's where the last rocket is. And we've got Goodspeed by himself with a rifle. He's come full circle. He's an action hero now.
Yeah.
He locates the rocket, and thank God he's still got his screwdriver in his pocket. After all this shit he's been through, he's still got that pristine screwdriver. Without that, we'd be absolutely goosed at this point. But it's the camera work here because Darrow shows up. And it's just a swooping around, they're looking at each other. There's a massive commando nod when he puts his gun away and he brings the knife out. He's like, I don't need a gun, I've got a knife. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to look into your eyes. I'm going to make you suffer. And a great back and forth where Goodspeed's like, do you know how this shit works? And he's talking about the VX gas. And then Darrow goes, you know how this shit works? With a knife. And yet they both kill people. And the framing of him when he moves in front and pulls that knife up, and the rocket's just in the foreground on that wide angle lens, and it's just basically saying that's gonna go straight through him and out the window, guys. And then you're like, right, and then it moves around again, and then we see Goodspeed coming around, and he gives him a little bit of tone. He's like, "Do you like Elton John?" I was like, "I don't like soft ass shit." Brilliant, I love that. Have you heard the song Rocket Man? It's funny because you're the Rocket Man, and it's bang, and it's just ludicrously satisfying and stupidly excellent. That's all I can say about this moment, because Goodspeed should be burned alive. That whole lighthouse should explode. Why is the launch mechanism right next to the rocket in the fucking first place, in the same room? Like, I'm going to launch this rocket from this desk and it's right next to it. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But that moment when that rocket goes off and he has pushed out that glass and it just goes for it, and there's that big burst of fire and that one final line where, how do you like how that shit works? And it's so satisfying, punch the air moment, but then we're straight into the control room and that whip pan where it's just boom past all the screens. Like, I love that bit. Wow, we're back here again. It's just so frenetic, but so enjoyable.
Yeah, Mason's off taking out Captain Hendricks when this is going on. The guy who says, I'm Irish, which I like because Mason doesn't know what he is. But meanwhile, Goodspeed is just taking out every other bad guy. And why do these Marines always yell just before they start firing? Basically letting people know they're there. Like Private McCoy, he's called. He's on the roof. He's got his guns trained right on Goodspeed, who doesn't know he's there.
Yeah.
And just before he shoots, he shouts, "Hey, you motherfucker!" A bit unprofessional.
It's the training, John. It just takes over.
But yeah, Darrow's death is outrageous. Bazooka through the window and landing impaled on that huge spike.
Yeah.
Subtle way to go, but it is great. I love it.
Yeah.
And that just leaves Fry to be taken care of, and he's pursuing Goodspeed. Goodspeed's got just one of the little VX gas balls on his person. Doesn't think to hide it anywhere. Take 30 seconds, so just run with it because that's really safe. But, you know, there's two good payoffs here, because the only time we've seen the VX gas in action is when one of them accidentally breaks during the raid at the beginning and it kills that Marine. But after then, all we know about it is the details we get from Goodspeed about what it does to the human body, which just sounds unbelievably awful. But the thing is, you do want to see it happen to someone at some point, more than you saw at the first. So holding it off to the end, doing it to one of the true bad guys, it's so satisfying. I mean, it's so much more satisfying happening to Fry than if this had happened to Hummel for some reason, you know.
Yeah.
Hummel wouldn't have deserved to die like that, but Fry absolutely does deserve to die like this. So it's when he just shoves it in his mouth and punches him. And then the other payoff is obviously the atropine injection. I mean, we've been told twice, this is what you have to do to survive this gas. This is how bad it is. Everybody freaks out at the thought of it. So we know it's going to happen at some point. And for such an obvious practical trick, I mean, obviously, it's just retractable where you stab into yourself.
Yeah.
You still really feel it. And I think that's because of Cage's conviction.
Yeah.
He really makes you feel like, ouch. You wince at the thought of him punching that right into his heart. So yeah, two great payoffs in this scene.
Yeah, that moment when Fry kind of retracts as well and spits it out, it's like that just reminds me of Bishop getting stabbed at the end of Aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, Goodspeed's now just a killing machine, taking out all these highly trained Marines with years of
How?
experience, no problem. I mean, Fry's death's outrageous. I'm not sure what's more insane. Is it Fry choking Goodspeed going, "You're gonna die," or Goodspeed shoving the sphere into his mouth? "Eat this, you fuck." That surely is Hicks and Aliens. Eat this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the needle in the heart. I think that's another Tarantino reference, isn't it? From Pulp Fiction.
Oh, from Pulp Fiction, yeah, maybe, yeah.
I'm not sure why Goodspeed has to go on his knees to flag down the jets with the flares, but it looks like Platoon, so it's going in.
It looks amazing. It's such a good shot that when the planes are flying over. Like, Michael Bay made this film for that moment.
Yeah.
Make him look like Jesus at the end.
And after the bombs hit the back part of the island, we get a shot where we see the fighter jet flying straight up. Can jets do that? I'm not entirely sure.
Of course it can. Seen Top Gun?
Oh, yeah.
He was inverted.
But as a climax, bringing it all home, wrapping up the story, it's all there. It's big, it's spectacular, the stories are tied up, and it certainly satisfies from what it's been setting up for 2 hours. So I think it's a great climax.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I love the way that Mason's just jogging around.
Yeah.
Just cuts through and he's just needs his like headphones in and just cut down. He's actually in a shell suit.
Just getting his steps in.
Getting his steps in, I love it.
And the VX gas tubes that go into the missiles, they were designed like glass spheres with green liquid inside them. In reality, volatile gases are stored in metal containers, not glass, but they were designed and built by effects technician Tad Krasnowski.
Yeah, he worked on Die Hard, Tad Kursnowski.
Right, okay.
Right.
And then The Hunt for Red October, Cliffhanger, Terminal Velocity, Tank Girl, Crimson Tide, Sudden Death, Executive Decision, then The Rock.
Wow. Action Lord.
Yeah. The most 90s action film CV out there, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
And pretty amazingly, in 2002, MI6 announced that they had acquired information revealing that Iraq was stepping up production of biological warfare agents, and a full investigation was put in place. But they quickly realised that their source's description of the containers being used, glass beads of spheres, was basically taken from The Rock, so they just stopped the investigation.
Apparently they even briefed Tony Blair on it.
Really?
Yeah, David Weisberg, the screenwriter, said, "I don't understand how it went that far. If they'd asked any kind of expert, they'd have just said, this is total bullshit."
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll put it inside a doll of a baby. All right, okay.
If you want to come up with a realistic lie, don't use The Rock as your source. No. Surely. This is clearly a highly researched piece of work. This'll fool them.
This'll do it, yeah.
The main narrative around Hummel and his men's wrapped up, but we still have some personal loose ends to tie up in the denouement. Mm-hmm. Goodspeed and Mason have a final moment on the island where Goodspeed lets Mason quietly slip away, and Mason gives Goodspeed the location of the top secret microfilm.
Yeah.
A tidy way to finish, Matt?
Pretty tidy, I think. I mean, it's all celebrations. Goodspeed's alive. All the hostages have been saved. But Womack, what about Mason? The only thing he cares about is Mason dead. Is he alive? I want him. And obviously, look, it's not a surprise. This was always going to happen, that Goodspeed was going to let Mason go. But the important thing is, it feels earned. I think it's well judged. It isn't overdone. I think Connery and Cage played really well. Because the important thing is, Mason had his doubts as to what Goodspeed would do when Womack asks where he is, but you do believe in that grudge and friendship that they've built throughout this whole thing. And I do love the little gift that Mason leaves him, forget Maui, and just gives him the coordinates instead the directions. And this means we're definitely going to get the last payoff we need, which is Mason reuniting with his daughter.
Exactly.
That's definitely going to be in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like how Goodspeed lets Mason go, because it was set up earlier where Goodspeed watches Womack rip up Mason's pardon.
Yeah.
But also, Goodspeed sends Carl off to a hotel earlier and then sends Mason to the same hotel at the end.
Yeah.
She's going to get the fright of her life when he wanders in.
Good point, yeah.
And when Mason says, "Forget Maui," I can't not hear, "Fuck Maui." Every time. But it all works. It's nice when Paxton goes along with Goodspeed's lie that Mason's dead, even though he clearly sees through it. Like, poor bastard.
Yeah. Vaporized, you see. Yes, sir.
So it's like everyone now thinks he should be let go, except Womack, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And forget Womack.
Piece of shit.
I mean, I don't really like that shot of Mason just before this when he stood on the far side. He's just looking through that.
He gets over there really quickly.
Really quickly. It's like, how the fuck does he do that? But anyway, we get to the point where just married, great. There's a church, great. We're promoting theft from a church. That's fantastic. He's left the microfilm in this. They're going to have cleaned that in 32 years. We might have moved one of the pews. It's not the safest place in the world.
Yeah, it's risky.
It's really risky. And this harks back to like the Shawshank Redemption, except we don't get the same kind of ending. I would have really loved that church, and they're getting married, and that's where they are, and they find the microfilm in the front, and then they go to leave, and then Connery comes in with his daughter, like the end of Prince of Thieves. You know what I mean? He marries them. It'd be great. That. Then he's like checking them there. Something. Give us something. But what they're saying is American history and everything that the government's hid from you is actually hilarious. Oh, do you want to find out who really killed JFK? Isn't that fun? Yay! What a laugh. We know you don't. This is great. Okay, see you later. Directed by Michael Bay. It's just outrageous. What's he going to do with that microfilm? That's put him in grave danger. Absolutely outrageous way to end. But again, hey, so much fun.
I think it's a nice final scene. Mixes up the visuals because it looks totally different to what's been before.
Yeah.
And we get Goodspeed and Carla's stories being tied up. They're married, she's pretty heavily pregnant. And the final line is Goodspeed examines the film. You want to know who really killed JFK? It's tonally perfect with what we've been watching. Yeah. So it's a good way to end. And that church as well. Beautiful place to finish.
Yeah, great, yeah.
And this closing scene was shot outside the Sacred Heart Mission Church in Satagoy, California. But it wasn't always going to end this way. Check this out. In earlier scripts, we saw Mason and his daughter driving up a freeway in a Jeep before cutting to the final church scene.
Right.
Yeah. I guess they must have cut it for pacing or something, but it's a shame they did.
Yeah.
Because we met Jade in an important scene for Mason earlier and then spent half the film hearing about her, but then we don't see them together. I feel like we kind of need that.
We need that final scene, yeah, definitely.
Well, that's the end of The Rock. Hummel and his men got taken down, Goodspeed saves the day and gets the microfilm, and Mason gets to disappear, presumably with Jade. A satisfying finale, we think?
Well, yeah, satisfying film.
Yeah, hits the beats.
Reception and awards.
That's how The Rock was made. We're not quite done with the full story, though. We now need to know how it was received on its release on June the 7th, 1996. So, Matt, how in the name of Zeus's butthole did The Rock do at the box office?
Well, I'll tell you.
Please do.
Production budget was $75 million, and on that, The Rock grossed $335 million worldwide, making it one of the biggest hits of the year.
Nice.
At the Oscars, as I've been saying, it got one nomination, Best Sound for Kevin O'Connell, Greg P. Russell and Keith A. Wester, losing out to The English Patient.
Yeah, it's not bothered about Oscars, this film.
It's
No,
really
it just
not
cares about the Rock's office. That's all it's bothered about.
Yeah, nice. 100%. And it was a huge hit, so job done, I think.
Yeah.
The world premiere was held in the recreation yard of Alcatraz. 500 guests were ferried out to the island, and fans on water scooters surrounded the island too, trying to catch a glimpse of the celebrities. Brilliant.
Trying to break onto The Rock.
Why not?
Good luck getting through that flame jet tunnel thing. That's still there, presumably.
Obviously still on for no reason.
Yeah.
Some locations were a premiere, that though, isn't it?
Oh, it'd be massive. That would be great, yeah.
So, onto the critics, and the first one to look at is, of course, Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Rog.
Nice.
What do you reckon Roger gave The Rock out of 4?
3.
Not much. I'll go 2.
It was 3.5 out of 4.
Wow.
Okay. Loved it. All right.
He called it a first-rate slam-bang action thriller with a lot of style and no little humour.
Fair enough, yeah.
Rog loved it. It's always nice when a highbrow critic rolls with a Bay film, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good to see.
Doesn't happen often.
No.
Next up, Todd McCarthy in Variety, who didn't give a star rating, but said, "The yarn has its share of gaping holes and jaw-dropping improbabilities, but director Michael Bay sweeps them all aside with his never-take-a-breath pacing." He definitely does that. Swooping them aside is the perfect phrase for it.
Straight into the bin, yeah.
The plot does have holes he could drive a bus through, but are we that bothered in this film?
Not when it's this much fun.
Exactly.
Well, exactly, yeah. It's got to be fun.
And Chris Hewitt at Empire Magazine gave The Rock 4 stars out of 5. He said, "Loud and bombastic, it's crammed with orange filters and epilepsy-inducing editing, heroic leads, and it doesn't make a great deal of sense. Entertaining action, nothing more, nothing less."
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Again, similar page to us, I think.
Yeah.
And today on Rotten Tomatoes, The Rock has a critics' approval rating of 68% and an audience approval rating of 85%, and on IMDb a score of 7.4 out of 10.
68% from critics, 85% from audiences. That could be just about any Bay film, I'd imagine.
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Sums
That
it
kind
up,
of
doesn't it?
reception.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut and paste.
So The Rock did very well on its release. Huge box office hit, an Oscar nomination, generally well received by critics, and decades later, still popular with audiences. Mm-hmm. One of the great popcorn films of its era. An audience pleaser, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, too right,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Sequels and influence.
There were no sequels to The Rock, but Michael Bay did at one point have an idea for a follow-up. Apparently it would have involved a now married Goodspeed. So because he's got the microfilm, the government come after him, and he's
Right.
forced to ask Mason for help. So Cage and Connery back together, Bay back behind the camera.
Wonderful.
I'd have been well up for that.
I'd have been up for that, yeah.
I'm not sure if I would have been. He just asks him for help. What's the premise?
Well, that's the basic idea, I think.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I mean, I'd like to see them back together again, but I'd need something a bit more solid to get us into the cinema to watch it.
That would have came in the script, the fleshed out script, obviously.
Yeah, 15 writers.
After 15 writers, yeah.
So no sequels, unfortunately. But how about The Rock's influence and legacy since 1996? What do we think, Matt?
I think this is the last good Sean Connery film. He only actually made 5
Yeah.
more after this before retiring, and that includes the likes of The Avengers and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So this really is the last time we saw Connery in his movie star pomp. And also Nick Cage, his first action film, and that became a huge part of his career going forward. And I'd also tie that into its influence, because I think this really made producers think outside the box for casting action films, because he obviously wasn't an obvious pick here, and it stopped them just falling back on the same 3 or 4 names every time. So at the time, Matt Damon was quite an unusual choice to take the lead in the Bourne Identity. How much of that casting was influenced by this?
Yeah.
And then obviously this, following on from Bad Boys, of course, but this is the one that just really cemented what Bayhem is and everything that Michael Bay is as a filmmaker, and there was no going back from after this, for better and worse.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one first. Within action filmmaking, I think The Rock was influential. This is one of the definitive films of the Michael Bay style we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Like multi-camera coverage, low angles, slow tracking close-ups, super fast cutting, that like desaturated palette as well. And because everything Bay made was a huge hit, studios embraced it. And that became the kind of visual language of mainstream action films for the next 10 years at least. I think you can definitely see Michael Bay's influence in Marvel movies, for sure. And the score as well. That main theme by Hans Zimmer, the huge ostinato, the like brass stabs, the choir. Listen to an action movie trailer from the late 90s, you can probably hear The Rock in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is anywhere near as good, but I think there was a fairly clear line from this score to Zimmer's stuff on the likes of Inception.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
The legacy's there, and we know just from doing this episode and our patrons reaching out that it's still popular.
Yeah.
It does some of the old kind of basics of action filmmaking really well, so I think it probably always will be popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's really popular, and going forward, how it did break that mold, and it was more of a rock and roll film. It was like, you know, more of a punk film, more of like MTV generation. So I think it is Bay inventing all of that. But if you look at the films that came after this, especially for Bay, I mean, you got Armageddon, which this is kind of a blueprint for. Bad Boys 2, which is far, far better than the first film, I think. We've talked about them. Then you've got like the government films with older actors coming in. So you've got like Air Force One. You've got the Fast and Furious, which is based on the whole chase sequence at the start. Gone in 60 Seconds, which has got Cage in again. All of them, Swordfish, all of them kind of films that have got that really brash, really powerful, really strong influence visually. Again, Tony Scott started that, but this makes Tony Scott feel like a bit of a grandpa. This is like his grandson getting a hold of a Tony Scott film, ramping it up, and everyone else said, right, that's amazing. Maybe we'll add some story. Maybe we'll add some character. And like you said, John, I think that's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what everything we've got from that. We've got Zack Snyder from that. We've got all of that. So it really influenced cinema visually, not necessarily from a soul point of view, but definitely from a visual and an exciting visual point of view.
So no sequels for The Rock, but in influencing mainstream action filmmaking in the following years and being popular with audiences still today, it has left its mark.
Definitely.
Definitely has.
All the right movies ranking.
And we are out of the Bay and into our final act, our scores. The moment that we each give The Rock our rating out of 10. Westy, was your pick, so you first, please. Your summary and score for The Rock.
Yes. Okay. I mean, you say it was my pick. It wasn't just solely The Rock. Like, it was part of a 4 to pick from. And I thought, I'll put The Rock in there and see what happens, because I do enjoy that film. And I think going back to it, there was a lot to admire. But then there's a lot to question, and I think we've gone over all of it in the last few hours, which leaves it as one of them films that I really do admire. I think it has some confidence, it has some bombast, but does it stand the test of time? Will you watch it and really pull something from it? Will you see more plot holes the more you watch it? Or is this one when you just come home from the pub and you've got a couple of cans left in the fridge and you're like, oh, The Rock's on, thank God for that.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about it, it just fits perfectly in that mould. Because it is an enjoyable film, doesn't put it right up there for me. It gives it a fairly high score. It gives it on the enjoyable scale. And it's a very solid 8.5 out of 10 for me.
Much higher than I thought you were going to say.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, something I've been kind of getting at throughout this is that Michael Bay isn't often mentioned in the same conversation as like the great auteurs, and there's a good reason for it. His films often have plots like Swiss cheese. They don't explore themes in interesting ways like other greats do. But what he does very well is direct white-knuckle action and hit big narrative beats. He knows how to make action films that people like and that make money.
Yeah.
And the cast all give him what he needs in that sense. Cage is outrageous and charismatic, as is his way. Connery is Connery, won't change for anyone, but his presence is enormous. And Ed Harris is a really good villain with some depth. And those big moments, the shower room shootout, the car chase, the climax, they all land. And it's all backed up in the score, like we talked about. And the DP work from John Schwartzman. He knows what he's doing as well. Where the film falls short for me, like we've been saying, is the writing. The dialogue's sometimes clumsy. Women are plot devices, and Hummel had more potential as a villain than we get, I think. But it's not trying to be any of that, really. It's very entertaining. It's very rewatchable, and I think it still holds up in the sense that it does to audiences now what it did then. I mean, not one of my favourites, but it certainly has its place, and it's 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
And Matt, over to you to round us off, please.
Yeah, it's still a huge amount of fun. There's a little bit more depth to it than you'd expect, which is everything to do with Hummel and Harris's performance, putting that on screen. And Connery and Cage are a great duo together, and the charisma and the humour that the two of them bring here can't be underestimated. Without them, this would have been straight to video fodder back in the day, and no one would think twice about it. And it is a great 90s action flick, but that does come with obvious limits. The writing is, as I say, it's better than expected, but there's still a lot of issues, a lot of things that could be explored a lot more. And it is quite silly once you give it any real thought. And Bay kind of bludgeons you into enjoying it, and he's kind of missed some areas where he could have really pushed it. So in terms of score, I think back to when we covered True Lies, which I give a 7.5. Now, I can't say with any honesty that The Rock is a better film than True Lies. You know, Cameron against Bay, it's obviously who the winner is. But I have the nostalgic affection for The Rock that I didn't with True Lies. It reminds me of being 15 and not having a care in the world. And that's worth an extra mark here. And that brings us up to 8 out of 10 for me.
Very nice. Well, we also put this out there to our ATRM patrons, the real men and women of honour, to get their thoughts.
That's them.
So, some of their comments on The Rock. Matthew Williams said, Cage's insane energy and possibly my favourite Connery role. Wow. A bit ridiculous in places, but ridiculously good in places. Yeah. Amazing rewatchability, but not quite one of the greats. A solid 9.
Nice.
Connery's best, do you think? The Untouchables? Better or worse?
Worse. Definitely worse.
It's not Connery's best film,
It's
I
not,
don't think. No.
Heath Hobbs said, so this is a double feature with Con Air. Blew my 10-year-old mind. Wow. Nick Cage remains one of my favourites because of this film. Also got into chemistry. It's a 10.
Wow, okay.
Wow. Okay.
The Rock and Con Air is unbeatable. It's a double feature for a 10-year-old, surely.
That's huge, to be fair, 10
You
years
wouldn't
old.
sleep for a week.
Yeah.
And Charlie Watts is here. He's put down the sticks for a second to share his thoughts on The Rock.
Okay.
He said, written for 15-year-old boys by the mind of a 15-year-old boy. Connery and Cage are superb, and when I was 15, I thought the ending was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
As a 40-year-old now, I think it's good at what it's trying to do, but ultimately a very simple movie. My wife got bored and walked out, but I'll go 7 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Mixed bag.
Yeah.
I do like the thought of Charlie's wife walking out of their own house during The Rock.
Yeah, where did you walk to? Yeah. Slightly worrying, Charlie.
But fair, I mean, Bay said himself, he's basically making this for teenagers.
Well, yeah, exactly.
We should bear that in mind, really.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of just love it. It is a bit of a guilty pleasure, but it is so well celebrated. It's just up there.
Yeah.
Like, I've just seen it too many times, might be the problem.
So a positive set of reviews from our patrons there, and altogether they rate The Rock as, what do you think, out of 10?
Ooh, this is right in the middle, isn't it? I'm going to go like 8.
I'll go 8.5.
It was 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay.
So in total, that gives The Rock 31.5 out of 40. About expected, I think, as a result.
Yeah, it's just about right, I think.
Yeah.
And that's that on The Rock. Hopefully it hasn't made you want to break into a prison or yell at the sky waving a couple of flares about.
No.
Not again, anyway.
Yeah, no, not making that mistake again.
Wrong kind of flares as well, and my mum killed it.
But next time the three of us are back again, we're putting the band back together and heading to Chicago in a Dodge Monaco to talk John Landis, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, and the Blues Brothers.
Very nice. Yeah, fix a cigarette lighter.
Yeah, should be a musical treat, that.
It should
Yeah,
be.
it will be. I'm looking forward to that one. Love that film.
Hit it. Well, between now and then, to find out more about becoming an ATRM patron, supporting what we do, joining the community, and accessing 2 monthly bonus episodes, please visit patreon.com/alltherightmovies or click subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And on social media, you can find us as All The Right Movies on X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Facebook. And our website is alltherightmovies.com.
It is.
We're all off to Alcatraz to find out what really happened with JFK.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
And Roswell, for me.
Why not?
Get that in there. Yeah.
We'll see you right back here for the Blues Brothers. Until then, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yes, thanks very much for listening, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys.